nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night. They sell fear, cheap package the lies, while the clock keeps ticking, empires on fire. Can't sit quiet while the world's on edge. Lines in the sand, standing on the ledge. No script, no leash, no polished choir. Just a voice in the dark and a spark to the wire. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. Everybody's selling truth like a brand, buying opinions they don't understand. Talking in circles, screaming online. Keyboard courage borrows spine. Yeah, power plays dressed up as peace. Same old wolves with different teeth. But silence is loud when the house is burning. And the fuse is short, yeah, it's still learning. I don't dance for the left or the right. I stand in the heat, I stand in the fight. No strings, no chains, no manufactured choir. Just gasoline thoughts and an open lighter. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. The world's on tilt, pressure climbing. Truth don't whisper, it's perfect timing. You can't cancel the smoke, you can't stop flame. Say my name when it hits, say my name. Why? Say my name. Say my fire don't ask permission. Fire don't need a side. Fire just shows up honest and exposes the lie. This is and I'll bring the fire. Truth is harder. Burn it down till what's real survives. No smoke, no mirrors, just heat and lies. And I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. American fire. Strike it. Let it speak.
Hello and good day to you all. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're well today. What's going on, friends? You guys ready for a day? We got lots of interesting things going on. We're going to break it all down today. Of course, the updates for California, midterms updates, all that good stuff, but also cracks in City of London and the exposure. It's getting very interesting. Plus, a new Gallup deep dive study has many interesting signs that America is healing along with the economic development. I gotta say, Trump is doing it, folks. President Trump is crushing it, and we are going to go through all the reasons why. No doom in here, no black pilling. We see the silver lining here on American Fire. We break the narratives. We break the City of London psyops. That is what we do here. So welcome to the place where it's always optimistic. We're always winning because we can't lose, guys. We can't lose as long as we keep our feet to the fire. And there are so many good things to report and look at. So we just get all the dooming out of your brains, out of your blood cells, out of your body. Shake it off, because today, guys, we are looking at some really good trends for our country, and we're going to have some fun while doing it. So if you like all that, if you're excited for that, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Appreciate you all watching, and let's get into the chizat. Say hey to some peeps, and then we'll be getting on our way here. So looking at what's up, Rumble. I'll start on Rumble today. All right, we got AZ Tropic, Don Julio, Lochtefeld, Pixel Snap, holding it down there on Rumble. Love you guys. Appreciate you over there. On YouTube, where the most people are, we got Gen X MAGA numero uno today. Dadbod Todd, what's up? Pat M, Nick Majors, Rafe, Christina, John RN, Old Finds, dollar signs, old school brother. Thank you, man. I'm glad to still have you around. It's been a bit. Motley Cruel, come take 'em, Rum Dog. Tammy Anderson, LED, Dow, Cardiac, Kaz here, Daisy Trumpet, Jay Tyrus, Smokehouse, and Dan End, and, you know, Alice Fordham, what's up? Lisa Doxy, Anita Farron, Scott Volkovich, Toe Cramp, and many more pouring in. I would love to call you guys all out, but we'd be here all day. So I can't do it, but always the early ones get the worm, get the shout out worm. So thank you guys for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We already got a couple super chats in, so let's address them. Smokehouse with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Says the Gordie Howe Bridge of Canada opens Monday. Trump says he has to sign off on it first to hold leverage on Canada. Wonder what happened. Interesting. You know, our relationship with Canada, it could just be as simple as Trump making sure that every little thing, like he keeps Canada in order on everything, looks over every connection, looks over every bit of a contract. It could be that simple because Canada has been trying to screw us over, trying to get out of the tariffs. Obviously not the Canadian people, of who I have many viewers who are Canadian. And I love you guys. You guys are patriots, want to get your country back on track. But Mark Carney and the City of London establishment that runs Canada cannot be trusted. So Trump's probably just going to go through and dot the T's and, cross the T's and dot the lowercase J's. Who got that reference? Keith Torgensen with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. A super cool metal intro. I appreciate that. You know, I love 90s rock. I'm not a huge metal guy, but my friend made that for me, that intro song, and I love it. I love it. I think he did a great job. So smashing. Good work there, friends. All right. Listen, guys, you guys know the rules. No trolling in the chat. We got the moderators on it. They will boot you if you're going to be, if you got something to say, be respectful, be honorable. We invite disagreement. We invite questioning, but be honorable, respectable, and nice to everybody. And then you'll get to stay. If you want to hit me up, please tag me so I can find it. And sometimes the chat just keeps going so fast, it'll still get lost. So if you really got some, you just got to get out there. Please consider supporting the channel with the super chat, and then I can guarantee I will get you read and answered. That's a promise. Other ways to support the channel: join the membership, which you can do for free for the first month, in the description through the Patreon link in there. ASMR Pepper got it. Wayne's World. Actually, it's Wayne's World 2, but well done. Well done. Cross the T's and dot the lowercase J's. You kid my give my right eye. Oh, fantastic movie. Watched it just 2 nights ago with my daughter. All right, guys, you ready to get into it? They're still stealing it in California, but I got to tell you, it's getting super obvious, and that means worse for them. So as California's elections continue on, and it's getting more and more ridiculous by the day, Trump continues to call it out. This is from yesterday. Not possible for Spencer Pratt to have lost the LA runoffs after the big lead he had. Interesting, he starts it with not possible. Third world nation, rigged elections. Now they'll be working on great guy Steve Hilton. Won't have results for possibly 2 weeks, according to officials. So just as I've been reporting, Trump continues to keep the gas pressed, pushing forward on this. And look, we even got Elon Musk responding to this saying, true. You think Elon cares about this stuff? I gotta say, Elon is one of the people you want on it the most, as he can come in at any point, push his algorithm to boost everything about this and get it in front of the entire world. The world's watching, California, and you guys are going to be in serious trouble if this continues and it doesn't get fixed. J.D. Vance last night on Jesse Waters had this to say.
Let's go to California. Not sure how closely you've been following this. They are still counting the votes. Do you trust this election?
Fundamentally, the problem here with this whole thing is, how is it that you had, Karen Bass was in first place, Spencer Pratt was in second place, and then this other woman was in third place? You would expect these mail-in ballots to kind of meet that same basic pattern where, number one would get the most votes, number two would get the second most votes, and so on. But somehow we find ourselves in a situation where, number one, they're still receiving ballots, not just counting ballots, Jesse, they're still receiving ballots. And number two, the way that they're coming in just so happens to work out such that the Republican is getting kicked out of the final two, so it's a Democrat versus Democrat runoff. That seems pretty shady to me, especially when you add on top of the fact that in California, you are prohibited from asking for somebody's identification before they vote.
We just found out through the U.S. attorney there that you can register to vote with a gym membership card. How ridiculous is that?
It's crazy.
Well, and of course, we know that Gold's Gym would probably hand out a gym membership to anybody who's willing to pay, including, for example, an illegal alien. We joke about this, Jesse, but that's why these elections don't have the legitimacy they need, is because if you're going to give a card to anybody who's willing to pay $10 a month for a gym membership, then you're not actually going to ensure that person is legitimately able to vote. This is why we have, for example, photo ID to get on an airplane, so that airplane rides are safe. All
right. So why does this matter? Being on Fox News, J.D. Vance, millions of people, because Fox News viewers aren't necessarily like the most MAGA. They might vote for Trump. They're definitely Republican. They're old school, usually being a generally older audience. But a lot of them were skeptical about 2020. Just a fact. In fact, mostly it's older voters, and I'm not, again, please guys, I'm not beating up on older voters, okay? When I speak in generalities, it obviously doesn't mean you, okay? But when it came to Republicans, that it's a lot of the older voters who would watch Fox News and stuff that would say, we don't like that Trump lost 2020, it's kind of weird, but we don't think it's rigged. Well, now they're watching it in real time, and here's J.D. Vance giving an excellent breakdown on Jesse Waters, prime time, by the way. And I keep saying it. The reason this matters so much is because it's happening in a blue state where the Democrats claim the elections are on the up and up, and the stuff is so insane. California's laws are insane, literally banned from showing voter ID. Huntington Beach passed an ordinance that they needed voter ID in their elections to run in their precinct. The state shut them down. And this happened in many other places as well across California. How insane is that? You can't even show it, and yet they still say, we signature match, stuff like that. And then it's so bad right now that Governor Newsom's office is out here trying to be like, thank you, Senator, for highlighting Republican woman who registered her dog to vote and got caught because of an ID requirement. They're trying to act like, oh, we're actually running our elections on the up and up. We're catching fraud. The problem is that in this case, this woman whose dog was registered turned herself in. Why? Because her dog's mail-in ballot was successfully counted in the statewide election to recall Governor Newsom, but then was rejected in the federal primary election. See, the federal election. Proof of ID or residence is not required in California elections. Proof of residence and registration is required for first-time voters in a federal election. Only the dog's ballot in the federal election was rejected. The dog's mail-in ballot was accepted for the California state election. So nice try there, Newsom, playing your game. But, a couple months ago, we had this come out from James O'Keefe, where he literally caught somebody on Skid Row committing election fraud.
Fraudulent petitioners on Skid Row are now paying the homeless to forge names, forge addresses, and forge signatures of registered voters.
So do you want to sign? Okay. The first one. I'm Joseph Albright. Okay.
First name?
Joseph Albright. What are you using? Teresa.
No, I'm gonna give you your address direct.
Oh, okay.
All the directions?
Okay, yeah.
Robert.
Quickly becoming a widespread scheme that can be found on almost every street corner in downtown Los Angeles.
So this is exactly what's happening as Spencer Pratt's watching his lead evaporate, and now he's in third with going from a 77% chance to advance down to a 0.05% chance to advance. This is what we're watching in real time. And again, the nation is watching. So this is why I remain very optimistic, but it gets crazier. Here's Steve Hilton, who actually is likely to advance to the runoff because his lead was so large in second place. He was first, fell to second place. But here's Steve giving another account of California. Now here's the catch. With what's going on in California, the reason it's tricky and it's going to be tougher and the laws have to change, Supreme Court has to rule in order to shift this, is because they've legalized the cheating. That's the difference. That's how clever the Democrats got in all this. They went from, in 2020, we just rigged it and stole it and cheated, to, we'll just make all that legal now. Listen to what Hilton has to say is legal in California right now. This is kind of mind-blowing.
There's one thing that is just extraordinary to anyone watching, which is this mail-in ballot 7 days after the election. The argument is, well, we want maximum participation. So if someone wants to vote on election day, we're going to treat sending in a mail ballot the same as if you were voting. That's why we're going to give 7 days for the ballot to arrive. But there's a line in the law that says that actually the proof that you mailed your ballot on or just before election day, even if it arrives after election day, it's not just the postmark. You can write it. You can handwrite the date.
Wow.
And that counts.
Did you hear that? You can backdate it with your own handwriting. That's insane.
It's not. I was talking about this at the last elections. I had a whistleblower from the Postal Service explaining this. So just to be really clear what that means, you can backdate your ballot
By hand.
Counted by hand, and it will be counted. That's how
outrageous.
insane this system is.
That's legal. Now, again, the Supreme Court, this is why we need that ruling here and fast, because with the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter. You can backdate it by hand. They could make it legal to do so. However, if it's not collected by election day and counted that day, now you're screwed. So this can be fixed, and actually might be fixed even this week. So there's still hope in California, but let's continue to look at just how bad it is. Here's the United States attorney that was sent to California to look at it. California is blocking the federal audit. Now, this can't last. They will eventually lose this in court and something's going to happen. However, for now, they are pushing off so you can't even go into the rolls. The reason this will be overturned is because voter rolls affect federal elections as well, and the feds have jurisdiction. But for now, they're pushing it off. Now, California will allow first-time voters to register using the following IDs: gym membership, employer ID card, credit or debit card, prescription drug label, or insurance card, in which California provides free health coverage to undocumented immigrants. You can get, an illegal immigrant can get free health care in California and use that card to vote. Yeah, it's so much worse the more you look into it. This is permitted when a voter fails to provide social security number, or driver's license, and registration. Our office believes this policy deserves a closer look. We have serious concerns about how California maintains its voter rolls. Open questions whether the state is promptly removing deceased voters, people who've moved, and individuals convicted of disqualifying felonies. By the way, over 1 million people have left California in the last decade. Do you think that's going to impact the voting rolls a little bit? Yeah. Do you think they've cleaned up the voting rolls at all? Absolutely not. And the voting rolls are important because on the voting rolls, that is the ground number one for the foundation of how you can compare who's voted, how many have voted versus what's on the voting rolls. So when you clean up the voting rolls, you automatically limit the amount of cheating that can occur, the amount of rigging that can occur. So this is extremely important. By the way, it's always the boring stuff, right? It's the boring stuff. Voter rolls that matter. They want you to gloss over. I want you to look past the boring stuff and just focus. It's the same with like the arrests. You know, people always getting upset about the arrests. Why is there not arrests? It's like, well, there's actually a ton of arrests going on. Yeah, but it's not Bill Gates. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. It's a little more boring, but that's the stuff that's actually happening on the ground right now. And this is how, unfortunately, the legal system works, and unfortunately, reality works. It's the boring stuff you fix, and that cleans things up. So cleaning up voter rolls and making something simple like count on election day, that will clean up. That'll clean up a ton of fraud. They're going to have to come up with other ways. Voter ID, of course, we want that. That's the big splashy thing that makes tons of sense and will also eliminate up to 95, maybe more % of the ballot rigging. Absolutely, it's important. But it's also the big splashy thing that's difficult to get. So these are the kind of things that we can work on immediately. For over a year, Department of Justice has been trying to audit the voter rolls. Federal law gives the Attorney General the authority to review state voter files and confirm that only eligible U.S. citizens are voting in federal elections. Harmeet Dillon has sent a letter explaining our legal authority. So they're working on this, and this will eventually get done. So again, guys, stuff is happening. And look at this crazy thing that happened. So on election night in LA, I pulled every statewide race directly from California Secretary of State's official results page. Same ballot, same voters, same night. The governor's race, the most important, most advertised race on the entire ballot, received roughly 100,000 fewer total votes than the controller and Secretary of State races. Now, does anybody know why Secretary of State is so important? This was a major initiative under the Obama administration by George Soros to push and get all the Secretary of States in America to be a liberal, be controlled, because Secretary of State oversees the state elections, election laws. This, under the Obama administration, an election system that was already flawed got much, much worse. And this is one of the reasons, because they handpicked and pushed and got elected several secretaries of states. This is why they will, on where a governor's race, listen, governor in a state and president of a country are always going to get the most votes in elections. They will drive the most turnout, get the most votes. This is like saying that in a presidential election, somebody voted for a senator in a state 100,000 more times. People voted 100,000 more times for a senator in a state than a president. That doesn't make sense. Leaving blank the president. Who goes to a presidential election and doesn't vote for president? This is the same deal. This is saying 100,000 votes, people on ballots voted, just left governor blank. This is the kind of stuff where I say, we might not have the hard evidence, but the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming. Here's the exact totals. Governor, total votes, 796,000. That's from LA County. Controller, 900,000. Secretary of State, 889,000. That's absolute rigging right there. And you can tell, like, they're even more concerned about these races than the governor. It's funny how this all works, right, when you look into it. So, do you know what the state controller does? It's one of the most obscure offices on the ballot, got more votes. All Republican governor candidates combined on election night, 222,000. Republican controller candidate, 302. Secretary of State, Don Wagner, 70 to 80,000 people voted Republican in the controller and Secretary of State races, but didn't cast a Republican vote for governor. Does that make any sense? Or were those votes erased? You know, they use Smartmatic machines there in LA. That's interesting. So when all that's going on, there is good things happening, all right? Because I know it's very easy to doom get blackpilled with all these issues, especially if you're Californian. But a lot is happening towards election integrity. And here's the latest from DHS. Department of Homeland Security has approved a plan allowing states to verify voter citizenship through federal databases while monitoring mail-in ballot activity for potential signs of fraud, advancing a central pillar of Trump's election integrity agenda. The initiative, expected to launch later this month, would give election officials access to federal citizenship records and allow voter rolls to be checked against immigration government databases. DHS also plans to work with USPS, this is Trump's executive order, to track absentee and mail ballot flows, flag unusual patterns, and generate investigative leads. The move advances a major piece of President Trump's election integrity agenda. So this is happening. So guys, even without Save America, we're getting DHS being able to go through the voter rolls, compare them to citizenship claims. We got the Supreme Court struck down VRA, Voting Rights Act. We at least the major segment that allowed them to create a bunch of House representatives for liberals out of thin air. We're getting the mail-in ballot decision here soon. So, you know, I continue to say that with everything going on in California, with all the attention here, we're really heading in the right direction. All right. And this is ultimately what's happening in California, as egregious as it is. I think it's ultimately going to be a good thing. You know, sometimes you got to lose in order to win, because people have to see what it takes for the other side to win. So don't give up hope, California. There's still possibilities. And even though the possibility of major change for this election is low, I'm not pretending it's not. I had people come in criticizing me for my segment yesterday, being like, well, dude, don't give them hope that this election's going to change. It's not. I didn't say that. I said there's a very small chance that everything coming together could fix the election for Spencer Pratt, or even get Steve Hilton in to turn California red. Chances are very small, but it is a possibility. It's small. But looking forward, because of this election, if it's lost, and watching how it's happening, this could be the catalyst that really changes things going forward. Because I guarantee you right now, it's so bad that senators, other people who are on the fence are looking at it and saying, oh my God, we can't even defend this. We have liberal journalists. We have people like Nate Silver coming out and saying, this is ridiculous. Guys, California has been doing this now for several elections. We've never heard this kind, like people in California would complain, but we've never gotten this national attention before. This is a game changer. This one's changing people's perceptions. And that's how you get real change started, guys, is by waking the people up. So long term, and not even that long term, I'm talking in the next 2, 4, 7, 8 years, California, things are going to get much better in California, because this is going to force change. And that ultimately is the biggest red pill of them all for California. Now, let's look at the nation at large. With the midterms coming up, things are going really, really badly for Democrats, City of London, Deep State, heading into this year's midterms. Today, we got more economic data, and I gotta say the vast majority of this data is very strong for Team Trump, for President Trump, for MAGA, for where we're headed. Now, the low numbers, which other people will talk about, I'll just touch on right here. It's all about sentiment. Sentiment is down, but that's just because the people are, feeling beat up. And that makes sense. But the actual numbers are looking very good. Look at this. Retailer profits jumped in Q1, up $4.2 billion from Q4. Guys, Q4 is Christmas. How are retail profits up $4 billion Q1 from Q4? That's crazy. And then if you go year over year, up $18 billion. That is not the sign of a struggling economy, friends. That's the sign of people getting money back in their pocket and starting to spend again. Doesn't matter. Remember, emotions lie. People's emotions lie to them. In general, the economy is getting better, especially for red states. After adjusting down for inflation, these are significantly large gains. And you can see the charts here are just heading up. Now, along with that, we got great news on the trade deficit. Okay. So the trade deficit down against China again. Keeps heading down. This is the tariffs working. This is the manufacturing reshoring we're starting to see. See, everything they say that Trump's doing that's wrong or doesn't work is working. And the reason they criticize him for it is because they're all globalist, Keynesian economists who they want the old system to stay in place. They hate that he's breaking. He's crushing the deep state cabal system, financial system that's been holding us all down. He's given power back to the people. It takes time. It's building up, but this is more and more proof of it. This is less dependence on imports. That's a huge deal. Expected 56 billion before the month before 56.6 billion. The trade deficit overall is down like 50 to 60% since Trump got in office. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. And here's a little breakdown on it.
The United States of America has reduced its trade deficit in goods with China by over 30%, 3-0. So that was, in absolute terms, that was $130 billion last year. That's a huge change in only 1 year. We initiated with China what I call the U.S.-China Board of Trade.
Right.
And it's, I'd call it a positive mechanism where instead of fighting with China all the time, we each look at about $30 billion worth of goods trade on each side, and we say, listen, is there something we can trade with each other, non-sensitive consumer goods, or can we send them medical devices, energy products, agricultural products? What can we get from them? What can we send to them in a balanced way in non-sensitive goods, and really manage the trade? Because our two economies are so different, our politics are so different. We have to manage the trade. We have to get that deficit lower. We have to get the trade more balanced, and we're already well along the path to doing that. The United States.
That's all because of tariffs. One of the most genius things ever. I mean, in our modern economics, what Trump and Bessent are doing, the reason, again, it's so different. And I recommend the people who break this down so brilliantly is over at Promethean Action. I totally recommend listening to them, or Tom Luongo. These people who follow the economy at a much deeper level than I do, but they understand the whole difference of what Trump's getting us back to. Remember, when Trump first came in, tariffs, my favorite word of tariffs, going back to the 1800s, they had so much money, they didn't know what to do with it. He's absolutely right. And that's before the Fed came in, the income tax came in. We ran our economy on tariffs and sales tax, basically. They call it something different, but it's basically a sales tax. And the economy in the 1800s, when that's what our federal government ran on, so no income tax collected, during that entire period, we increased exponentially. We became the world power, the most powerful economy in world history, and deflation was regular. I did a deep dive report on this last summer when the tariffs first happened, and my few viewers who were still around back then might remember this. But I showed them how year after year, the average in America was not inflation. Year over year, the average year in America was 0.5% deflation. Deflation is actually the sign of a growing economy. Why? Because innovation spurs new ways of creation, and that creation and innovation means better tech for cheaper, better ways of producing food for cheaper, better ways of getting energy out for cheaper. The more you innovate and create, the more things should get cheaper, not more expensive. What's changed is this Keynesian economics that we instituted in 1913 with the Fed and with personal income tax giving the government control over all of our incomes. By instituting that and allowing the federal government to now run on all this excess debt as well, you create a system where inflation meant growth, and a lot of our growth has been fake since then. Now, don't get me wrong, the American system is so powerful. Our overall lives in many ways have gotten better. Like a poor person today is living a lot better than a poor person back then. Do not get me wrong on that. There's a lot of improvements. However, in general terms, we have lost a ton of wealth, and we've lost our ability to accrue assets and build for the future. That's the difference. So while our day-to-day life in most cases might be better than it was back then, they've stolen from us our future and our potential to build and accrue wealth. That's been stolen from us, especially in the middle class. Forget it if you're poor. It's not completely stolen. There's still ways up. Do not get me wrong. There's still ways to improve. That's how powerful our system is. But they've been trying to eliminate that. Thank God for Trump, because he stopped them right before they could have completely gotten rid of our ability to do so. And now he's opening up the ceiling again so that we're able to get back into it. And this is why Trump talks a lot about assets. This is why he started the Trump accounts, all that kind of thing, to get Americans investing in the future again without as many roadblocks ahead of us. And by reshoring here, by creating the tariffs, by lowering taxes, lowering regulations, he's making it possible for us to get there. And we're seeing the initial results. Now, with all this happening, the economy is starting to show signs of turnaround. Well, we're also getting big news in the markets. Now, markets overall are down today, but that's not that big a deal. It is due a correction. It's very overbought. What's most important is that right now, oil has been going down. And now, earlier today, I haven't checked it this second. In fact, maybe I should. Let me look at oil this second. Oil right now, yes, it's down to $86. $86. That's where oil is right now, under $90. Guys, this is not supposed to happen when we're at war at Iran. We were supposed to be at $200 a barrel. We're supposed to be $150 a barrel. Alex Jones said, oh, you go to war with Iran, oil's going to go to 110, 130. We're totally screwed. No, I'm sorry. It's not happening. Why is it not happening? But the Strait of Hormuz is still blocked up. Trump's crushing the world economy. He's killing us all. Really? Well, there's a problem with that. See, as of right now, guess what happened? People innovate. Countries are innovating. The global oil system has offset almost 90% of Hormuz's barrels. Whoa! Everybody who predicted otherwise look like retards. This is what happens, folks. Never bet against a human's ability to innovate. It always happens. And this is the abundance mindset that Trump lives by and is trying to teach Americans again, because we've been stuck in a scarcity mindset for so long. And I understand why. A lot of us been beat down. It's been tough. The economy has not been in our favor. Things are hard. I get it. And then we had nonstop dooming from media, from Democratic presidents who were 12 of the last 17 years, just teaching us that, managed decline is expected now. Barack Obama, 2% growth is the new normal. We're never going to get higher than that again. Yeah, they lied to you. They told you to expect mediocrity. Trump is blowing that all up, and he's also proving that all the dooming just doesn't happen because people innovate. Look at this. 17.5 million barrels per day has been offset with bypass pipelines, reduced Chinese imports, increased U.S. export, SPR releases, and demand destruction. Now, the SPR releases, which is the emergency, oil, that can't last. Okay, so don't get me wrong. There's still some warning signs. It's not going to be perfect. But the problem is that this wasn't even supposed to get to that point. Look at this. The bypass pipelines will last. That's 7 to 8 million barrels a day. The Chinese imports, their economy's on the decline. And they're investing more in energy. In electric vehicles, that's probably going to stay this way. U.S. exports, that's not going to change. Here's the reserve releases, that will eventually wear out, but that's only 1 to 2 million barrels a day. That's not going away fast. So, and these other things will just keep increasing. Now, Tom Luongo breaks it down really well. Says some of this is not long-term sustainable. That's a typo. But the general trend is more the established global system of oil flow has been rewired. This is one of the greatest accomplishments of going after Iran. He removed City of London's control over the strait. And regardless of what you hear about Iran's the proxy. They were working as a proxy for City of London through the strait. Because guess who was making all that money through the strait? Oh yeah, Lloyd's of London, shipping, making trillions of dollars. And because they controlled the shipping through there, because listen, if you're the insurer, you control it, right? There's a lot of, that works in a lot of ways. If you're the one insuring, they're the only ones they can get insurance through, you basically can control it. So they controlled that, and then through OPEC and using Iran as a proxy, they could also control oil because you could control shocks to the oil system whenever you wanted to. OPEC would put caps on how much oil they're producing. How many times did Bush, Obama, Biden go to OPEC and beg them to produce more? Oil prices are getting high, guys. Please, will you send us more oil? That's been broken up. Countries are leaving OPEC. It's falling apart. That cabal is falling apart. And now, even if the strait opens back up again, you think these guys who've created new pipelines and stuff, you think they want to go back to using it exclusively? No way. Now they've taken control of their own oil. And that's not going to go back. So even if 90% right now is offset and the strait fully opens up, well, I would say the strait is now going to be 60 to 75% still offset with these new ways of doing things. And that, my friends, is massive. That changes the game. Now the Strait of Hormuz will never be able to be used as leverage again against us. This is absolutely genius. Now, he says we survived cutting out the Russians during the early days of the Ukraine war. That rewired things towards Hormuz and other offshore British ports like Bahamas and India. Now the trend is reversing away from those areas. That's why the histrionics over Trump are so loud and obnoxious. Note whose ox is being gored and you'll find out who's hurting. Simply trace who's reinforcing their narratives. You'll realize who's getting paid. City of London. It ain't tough, folks. Follow the money. Find the a-hole. Who's escalating against Russian exporting and refining assets? Ukraine? No. NATO help. France, UK, Poland, Baltics. To stop Russian exports from helping alleviate the Hormuz deficit. Say it with me again. All roads lead to City of London. It's just a fact. And Trump is crushing it. And this is why oil prices are going down instead of blowing up. You think Trump, this is the one leverage they had, the deep state, City of London had over Trump politically. Now, if oil keeps going down, they can't force him to end Iran quickly. They can't force him out to take a bad deal because with this going down, this was the last leverage they had to make the midterms go bad for him. Everything else is trending right. Economy is heading in the right direction. The redistricting was huge. People are waking up to the election fraud. The primaries, we took out a bunch of rhinos. Our turnout, MAGA's turnout is way up. And now oil prices are going down. You better believe they are crapping their pants right now because they want the oil prices to be at 150. They want them to touch 200. Why? Because it would be devastating for Trump in the polling. It'd be devastating for him. But meanwhile, now we all got used to $4 or $5 a gallon, and now it's going down. Recently, where I'm at, I think it peaked at $4.25 a gallon. Now it's at $3.75. You know what it looks like when you go from $4.25 to $3.75? You say, whoo, not cheap yet, but this is good. And you just start feeling better in general. And we've been watching that now for over a month, slowly ticking down. Guys, this is just massive against them. They're freaking out. Now, Trump and Iran, speaking to my point, this is not a man in a hurry. Listen to what he just had to say about Iran from last night.
If we go and bomb, which we can do very easily if we want, and we spend another 2 or 3 weeks bombing, they'll have nothing left whatsoever, but you won't have the strait open for months. If we do the bombing, a lot of people are going to be killed. Who wants to do that? I don't. And we'll have a signed document that's actually stronger than doing the bombing.
So what Trump just said to everybody paying attention is the big gripe is that the Strait of Hormuz needs to be open. And so we need to push for that. Well, Trump just told them all that if we start bombing again, the Strait, which is basically mostly open now, it's slower than it was before. There's still some issues to work out. The tolls, we're blockading Iran. But there's ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz now. Nobody can deny it. And so he's telling them, what you guys are saying, the narrative out there, that's such a big deal. If I bomb, it'll make it worse. And then he let all of us, MAGA, the libertarians, all the people who have been very wary about this war, about going back to war, he just told us, I don't want to fight. I don't want to kill people. That's not who I am. It's not what I want to do. So we can pretty much guarantee that unless something significant happens to Americans, whether they actually finally strike one of our aircraft carriers, if they could with their Timu missiles, haven't happened yet. But if they could get through, strike one of our aircraft carriers, kill Americans somewhere, attack one of our bases, if any of that got through, Trump's proven he'll take them out. But at this point, I don't think there's any way we start the bombing again. I think Trump just laid it down. And we can wait. We can wait because of the oil prices going down. And so Trump has all the leverage. So with all this going on, we're starting to get unnamed sources. Okay, I'm not saying this is legitimate, but the whispers are starting to come out because they can see Trump's digging in his heels. He's not, the economy is just going to keep crashing. We're choking him out at siege mentality. And now that they have no pressure on him because of the oil, I think they might be getting a little more desperate. And so from Sky News Arabia, again, I'm not saying it's a trusted source, but these are interesting reports starting to come out. Iran sent a draft ceasefire proposal to the U.S., reportedly now under review by Trump administration. Per this report, the initial press cease of the proposal is supposedly acceptable to the administration. This comes following Trump's comments earlier, talks are in their late stages. So we'll see. We'll see. But I got to say, this is one of the first times I've heard this report coming from the other side or somebody over there. Who knows? Maybe it's something. So with all this going on, regardless, oil prices going down, the economy is starting to tick back up, which the oil prices going down is only going to accelerate. Iran, one way or the other, if we're still in Iran or over by Iran, but nobody's dying, nobody's fighting, the American people are just going to brush it off. It doesn't feel real anymore, right? It doesn't feel like a war. Trump will start changing that messaging if we're still stuck there, and it'll work as long as there's no bombs going off. Or peace could come. Who knows? We might get an agreement. But regardless, all this is trending very well for Trump, MAGA, the Republicans in the midterms. And meanwhile, the Democrats are just getting worse and worse. Listen, here's James Carville, Mr. It's the economy, stupid. Helped Bill Clinton become president, consultant, who's getting crazier and crazier as he gets older. He hates Trump so much. Well, with this whole Graham Plattner thing going on, all their candidates looking horrific, what are they doing? They're not trying to figure it out. They're not trying to come to the middle. This is how James Carville is reacting and giving us insight into the Democrat state of mind. And you guys tell me if this is going to help get more voters or not.
If you went and you had 4 deployments and have some kind of effect on your mentality, it would be.
He had PTS and he struggled, and that explains a lot of his earlier stuff.
I understand that. And that's the larger issues. He's dealing with this from Susan Collins' wars. And I think people see that. And they say, I would be radicalized myself if something like that happened. And maybe it would be a good idea in the United States Senate to have a veteran who has struggled with mental issues and put him on the Veterans Affairs Committee, because he's not the only veteran. He's not the only combat veteran that's not profoundly affected by what happened to them during these wars.
Agreed.
Okay?
Agreed.
Okay.
But isn't he more instructive of the point that it doesn't matter because he's right about what's wrong, so people aren't going to analyze him the way they analyze somebody else?
And you make alliances. So let's go back.
This is gross.
Franklin Roosevelt, Winston Churchill. Who did they work with? Well, Joseph Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Sicilian mob, because there was a larger good here. There was something else. We couldn't, today's progressives, oh my God, Stalin killed, he was even worse than Hitler. He may have been, but they perceived that the threat, and I think correctly, and we never go in history and say, well, I just can't like Franklin Roosevelt because he sent Stalin billions of tons of equipment. Or Churchill snuck off during the war to meet with him in Moscow. Or he was at Yalta. He was at Tehran. He was at, you name it, Tehran.
So he's equating Trump and the Republicans to the Nazis, saying that we have to pair up with whoever we can to, no matter how despicable, even though in this point, the guy is a Nazi. He's got a Nazi tattoo. Not only a Nazi tattoo, an SS tattoo used by the people who were the worst in the concentration camps, did the worst torture to the Jews, to the whoever. I mean, it wasn't only Jews in internment camps, but even though it was mostly Jews. Terrible stuff. And they're saying, we're so bad, let's hook up with the actual Nazis.
When you saw something like this, sometimes you make alliances that you would not have made under a different set of circumstances.
Right.
But I think what's wrong with Platner, and by the way, I was for Janet Mills, so that people in Maine didn't listen
to me. Here it
comes. I did a video for her. But I think Platner might be just his ideas and the things that his courage and also his imperfections are imperfections that we can all identify with.
That's the line right there. His imperfections are imperfections we can all identify with. I don't know, guys. What do you think? To me, this is James Carville speaking as a Democrat, as a liberal, hardcore liberal Democrat. I got to say that to me, you know what that says? Hey, we Democrats can identify with being Nazis. We can identify with being wife and abusers of women and sexual deviants. We can identify with that because, this guy is disgusting, and it's more and more every day. He said he wanted to rape people who, if they ever came into his house, just to show he was dominant. That's who, Carville's like, who of us hasn't had that thought on a regular day? This is the Democratic mindset. This is the guy behind all these people. He started with Clinton. He's been there for a long time. That, my friends, I don't know about you, but is that inspiring? I don't think that's going to win any votes. Carville lost his mind. These people have lost their minds. And thankfully, remember, we're coming out of a period, the last couple months, which was the hardest period of Trump's second term, as far as his approval, as far as the optics, because of gas prices soaring, because of Iran, because of the MAGA influencers all turning against Trump, like all of this stuff. It's the worst period. The last 2.5, 3 months have been for the Trump administration, where Democrats are like, we're going to do it. We're going to take over. And this is where we're at. Oh, a 57% chance Republicans win the Senate. That's not good. They really didn't make a break there. But the Senate was always going to be the harder one. So maybe that's not telling us that much. All right. So Republicans, and I'll tell you right now, guys, it's not 57% chance that Republicans hold the Senate. As of right now, it's 95%. You guys can mark it. You can clip me saying that. It is 95% the Republicans will hold the Senate. and watch this midterms. You'll find out. I might even get to 100% before the midterms. That's how bad it is for the Democrats. Okay, I knew this in 2024. I told everybody when they were dooming, looking at the polls, saying it's going to be too close, and I said, nope, we're getting it all. And I'm telling you, 95% chance we hold the Senate. But look at the House now. Look at the House. This is from Full Insight Elections. They have the House now at 217 safe Republican seats. That means we only need to win 1 of 14 toss-ups. 1. That means the House went from about 60% Democrat in about March, and then the Voting Rights Act was struck down, and then the redistricting happened, and then the primaries happened. We saw this turnout. It just kept getting worse, and then Republicans blocked out the Democrats in a California seat, and now we went from 60% Democrat to now this is about an 75 to 80% chance of Republicans holding. If you guys vote, if I vote, if we all go vote, we're winning the midterms. And I literally don't have doubts about that anymore. See, one of the biggest, worst decisions they made was they made the midterms a national election. In the past, midterms are local. People don't show out for the midterms the way they do for a presidential election because we're not voting for a national candidate. We're voting for state candidates. People don't turn out the same way. This year, they made it national. And guess what? Trump was very happy to keep doing that. Said, okay, let's do it. And I'm going to make it more and more national because of redistricting, the Supreme Court now making decisions, everybody focused on California. As the more attention that's paid on this race, the more people treat it as if it's another presidential election with that same kind of importance, the better it is for us. And as of right now, guys, look, 52 seats Republican in the Senate considered safe. We could gain in the Senate. We could gain in the House. We had 220 after 2024. If we win 4 of 10 toss-ups, it could be 221. So stop dooming. The midterms are looking very nice for Republicans right now. Very nice. And with the economy trending up, gas prices trending lower, Iran at a standstill, but no fighting, no Americans dying. It's looking better every day. And so I'm telling you, I think Trump's about to pull off the impossible. And that is City of London's worst nightmare. All right, guys. That was a long segment, but if you guys don't mind hitting that like and subscribe, thank you for getting through it with me. We got lots more to come, but it had to go through all that so much. All the election stuff. And so let me get to, first and foremost, the super chats. I got $2 from Foundation Preacher. Thank you very much, my friend. Says the Iran status quo has inoculated Trump on gas prices. I think you're right. Yeah, I actually think he's at that point where it's starting to change. Doc No says more than just gaining numbers in the Senate, at least 5 anti-MAGA Republicans are out. Is it 5? I thought it was 4. But if I'm forgetting one, that's even better. But you're absolutely right. The Senate is going to be more MAGA after this. And the House will be too. It doesn't get as much attention, but Thomas Massey's gone, and there's a few others that gone too on a lower level. Nancy Mace is going to be bye-bye. She went for governor in South Carolina. She's getting her butt whooped. So that'll happen tonight. South Carolina's tonight. Let me see here. Let me make sure I didn't see anything tagged. Looks like we had a troll kicked out. Well done, mods. Good job. I appreciate that. Taking care of the chat, keeping it clean. Let's see. It says, imagine how expensive eggs, meat, and gas would be if Democrats got in. Oh my God. Eggs are the cheapest they've been in I think it's 7 years. That's amazing right there. Beef will follow. Beef just takes longer because it takes 2 years to get the herds back up. So it'll happen. Lots of people saying gas is coming down where they're at. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So beef prices, guys, for those of you wondering, and the Trump administration is trying to do something about this, but see, the war on beef was accelerated under the Biden administration. You know why they want us to get rid of beef? Red meat is the healthiest for you, despite what we were told as kids, despite Fred Flintstone in the Flintstone movie saying, my father ate red meat every day of his life and he died at the ripe old age of 35. You know, as a joke, red meat's bad for you. No, red meat's the best for you. Has the most nutrients, has the most protein. It's nice and lean most of the time. It's the best meat for you. And they want us strong. They want us weak. I'm sorry. They want us weak. They don't want us strong. So they want to get rid of red meat. And so there was a whole attack on red meat with the environmentalists, with the liberals, with, the globalists. And then what they also allowed to happen was, while they were thinning out our herds, while they were getting rid of grazing land, they also made sure that City of London companies were running the mediation for the meat. So they're screwing the farmers and taking their profits away while also raising the prices on us. And so there's a whole lot going on. Some of it's manipulation, some of it is lack of supply. But it's going to change. It's going to change. So just hang in there. The Trump team's putting a big focus on it, just like they did with eggs. But eggs was almost fully manipulated. They were able to change that fast. Plus, eggs can be produced a lot faster. So, let's see. Listen, Rob Miller, I never said the Pratt election will be overturned. If I misspoke, I'm sorry. I do a lot of talking on here and my words might have come out jumbled, but I was very clear. And since you're the only one who thinks I'm not, obviously when I have, thousands of people, I have over 7,000 views on that last video, and you're the only one who thinks I predicted Pratt would win that election, you are obviously cherry picking and taking my comments out of context. I never said Pratt would win. I said he had maybe a 5% chance of overturning it if the Supreme Court weighed in because of where we're at. And I know what I said, and I never predicted him to overturn it. So you're lying. You're absolutely lying, and you're doing it by taking things out of context. That's, but you can do that if that's who you want to be. If that's who you want to be, you can do that. And, but you should go watch somebody like Candace Owens if you want to do that, because that's what she does as a specialty. Bev says our economy is improving so fast. Give Trump time. 100%. It really is. Let's see. Who's taking Mace's House seat? I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't been paying attention to South Carolina. You know why? Because South Carolina is guaranteed to be red. So I usually only pay attention to the real battlegrounds. South Carolina is not a battleground. So I just assume whoever is going to be there is going to be red. And, as people are waking up, it's getting more MAGA. That's just where it's happening in all the red states. But, so I haven't paid much attention to South Carolina. I haven't heard about this fly problem. Sorry. Oh yeah. Plattner, I think, is getting nominated. Is that tonight or next week? I can't remember when Maine is, but that's really soon. Katie Cat starting on the carnivore diet. Good for you. I've never been able to stay permanently on the carnivore diet. I've done it a couple times, but when I did, it was very effective. I felt great, and I lost a lot of weight. But it was hard to stay on because I like stuff. I like stuff I shouldn't like. I kind of look like Ben Roethlisberger. I get that a lot. It's because I got these chubby cheeks now, man. I need to lose about 40 pounds. If I lost 40 pounds, I got my face thin again. Then I used to get people telling me I looked like, I also had longer hair, but people were a lot nicer. I got Joseph Fiennes and good looking guys. And now because I'm chubby, because my cheeks got chubby, I put on weight. Now I get Ben Roethlisberger. It's not an upgrade. Not an upgrade at all. Yeah, the processed carbs are terrible for you. There's a lot of evidence that before the last 40 years, especially in the 80s when the tobacco companies took over a bunch of food companies in the 80s. You guys know that? And it was allowed because of Anthony Fauci, and it happened on Reagan's watch as well. But the fact is that the tobacco companies were losing so much money on cigarettes, they started creating all these processed addictive foods that are terrible for you. And it's only gotten worse and worse. But before that, you could eat pretty much whatever you wanted and stay thin. I mean, you go look at the 70s, 80s, people were healthy, or not 80s as much, early 80s, 70s and 60s. People ate almost whatever they wanted. Cancer was much, much lower. Everybody was thin. It was hard to be fat. It's like... But now, yeah, we eat a bunch of poison. We eat a bunch of poison. Paul says 40 pounds, that's too much. Dude, you don't know. You don't know. Like, I used to be a good 50 pounds lighter than I am now. Yeah. I've gained a lot of weight in the last few years. I'm not fat. Thankfully, I'm like pretty bulky muscular, so that has offset how bad I'd look otherwise, but I'm not pretending. I've gained a lot of weight. So Jen. That's funny. Well, you're rare and stuff. Vance has lost his cheeks, man. Look at him. Like, Vance is looking good. He's looking svelte. I mean, he's still got a little bit of that chub, but compare this to what he looked like before, man. He's lost a lot of weight. I actually don't eat much sugar. You know what my biggest problem is, guys? I hate admitting this, but my biggest problem is I really love beer. I love beer. I don't drink to get drunk. I like the taste of it. I love craft beers. I like trying new beers. And, I drink a lot less than I used to. But on the weekends, I still, I'm just like, oh, man, nothing better than a beer by the pool. And when I go out with my wife or whatever, I always want to try whatever they got on tap. It's really tough to break that habit because I love a good beer. I really do. I know it's terrible, but it is what it is. I actually eat very healthy other than that. I eat mostly whole foods. I eat a lot of meat. I eat very, very little bread, very little sugar. And yeah, I just eat pretty good, but man, I do love beer. I really love beer. Sorry. I know. I just lost like half my crowd. All my people who, anyways. Well, alcohol is fermented sugar. Yeah. Not just beer. Okay, guys. Yeah. Listen, I appreciate you guys. Let me get into, make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, I'm caught up on all the super chats. I think I've caught up on all the tagged. We got another section to get into. This section is all about City of London, how it's being broken down. And yeah, so I think this is actually some really interesting stuff that happened the last couple days that just made my brain go was like, oh my God, City of London stuff. So, anyways, it's yeah. Buttermilk's a lot better for you than beer. Buttermilk is all healthy fat and protein, so you're a lot better off drinking buttermilk than beer. I gotta tell you, I'm never gonna pretend beer is good for you. I love it. I think it's delicious. I love all the different kinds of beers. It's like people who drink wine, like I'm that way with beer. I just like tasting it. So, real quick, let me answer a couple things before I move on. XS Gamer says, hey, speaking of, have you talked about alpha gal syndrome from the Lone Star ticks or screwworm infestation? No, I haven't. That's just not really my expertise. It's pretty clear what's going on with the ticks. The screwworm could just be from all the illegals, but I think we'll get fixed on that. Yeah, I know. There's too much estrogen in it. It's terrible. Beer is terrible for you. I'm not pretending it's good, but I freaking love it. It's like people who love Coke or a Diet Pepsi. It's like it's a terrible habit, and I haven't been able to kick it. But I've kicked it before. I've gone like 3 months without beer. I've gone 6 months. I've had long periods of time. When I first got married, I went almost 2 years. But so I've been able to kick it before. But life, I drink more when I'm happy, and I'm at a good place in my life, and so I've actually been drinking more. Anyways. Trying to. Well, I don't drink to get drunk, so I don't have hangovers. I've been drunk like twice in the last 5 years. I don't drink to get drunk. But okay, I don't know how we got on that. I'm sorry, because my chubby cheeks. You guys are trying to make me feel better, but yeah, I know, chubby cheeks. We'll call them the beer cheeks. My Ben Roethlisberger cheeks. There's a reason I keep a beard on. It makes me look thinner. If I shaved off this beard, you just see a fat baby face in front of you. Dennis loves me. No, I actually have great teeth. I have great teeth. Beer is actually not bad for your teeth. Because it doesn't turn into sugar until it's in your gut. So beer is actually not bad for your teeth or bones at all. In fact, it's one of the few things you could say beer has a benefit of is the bones. It actually is good for your bones. It's weird. All right, can we move off from this? I'm sorry. This is the most off topic thing ever. But you know what? This is why you guys watch me live, right? Because you never know where it could go. In between segments, when I get in the chat, it's open season. Where are we going? But anyways, all right. Before I move on, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. Got a whole City of London section coming up. I think it's going to be very interesting for many of you. At least it was to me when I put it together. So that's me. But listen, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you want to support the channel, if you like the channel, if you like what I do, if for a couple bucks a month, guys, you could really support me by, and in return, you get access to the Discord group, which is an amazing community. Also, members only live shows and other content that I do for the members only, including one we did on Saturday night, which was really fun, where we deep dived into the whole QAnon conspiracy. So we had a lot of fun doing that, and we've done other fun stuff on the members live. So click the Patreon link in the description. Go right now. If you haven't tried it, there's no risk. By clicking that link and signing up, you get a free month. Who else does that for you? Nobody does that. Candace Owens doesn't do that for you. Tucker Carlson won't do that for you. Get a free month. Try it out. See if you love it. And if you do, you can hang around for a few bucks a month and feel proud you support the channel. So thank you guys for your attention to this matter. By the way, Ryan Lynn, freaking $100 super chat, bro. You're going to make me cry. I promised myself I want to cry. No, but seriously, that's very humbling. Anytime somebody does something like that, it's just amazingly humbling. Thank you so much. He says, thanks for the afternoon show. Love hanging out. Well, I love hanging out with you guys. It's an absolute pleasure. I hope you get your money's worth. Let me just put it that way. But thank you, Ryan. That means a lot. That kind of support is amazing, and really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Okay. Oh man, I gotta get back into being serious. I just want to talk. I just want to hang out with you guys now. I gotta get back into the mode. I gotta get in news mode. Okay. Whew. All right. Hey, beer hasn't made me lose my hair. That's good. It's thinning out a little bit. Whew. All right. Here we go. We gotta do this. Let's have fun, but also learn. All right. City of London is panicking because the exposure is in a bad place for them. The Trump team, what they're doing on all fronts, whether it's economically, taking them out on foreign policy, breaking their strongholds, their proxy states, exposing the corrupt politicians, fraud, as we're seeing from JD Vance here, cleaning up their money train. All of this matters, and all of this is crushing them. City of London is in panic. And JD Vance, you guys want to rest? Well, JD Vance is telling you we're getting closer than ever. Look at this. So JD Vance has now referred allegations from the House Oversight Committee with their bombshell report exposing Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. JD Vance has now referred these allegations to the DOJ's new fraud division for criminal investigation. Tim Walz and Keith Ellison. That would be a pretty good one. Those would be pretty good names, folks. We're moving our way up the totem pole. Minnesota state officials are not above the law, and if they facilitated fraud, lied under oath about what they knew, or harassed and intimidated whistleblowers, they must face justice. This is a sitting governor and attorney general of a state, guys. It doesn't get a whole lot bigger than this. Here's Vance on Waters last night breaking it down.
I guess now I can make a bit of breaking news because I left the White House to come here to do this interview with you. And before I did, we actually referred this particular case to the Department of Justice for a full criminal investigation. We are not going to do what the Biden administration did and make judgments of the law before all the facts are in. But here's what's particularly troubling about this to me is Jesse, you had people within Governor Walz's office who were saying, you know what, this looks like fraud. It looks like these Somalian illegal immigrants are doing something that's very shady. And then you had people who shut them down, who shut these whistleblowers down and said, you know, you're a racist or you're a xenophobe for asking questions about where taxpayer money is going. What that means to me, Jesse, is that clearly people weren't taking fraud seriously. Whether it rises to the level of a criminal violation, we're going to investigate it. And of course, if it does rise to that level, we're going to prosecute it. We have to. And I guess now we're going to prosecute it. We have to. I love that. I love that at the end there. This is him setting the stage. Now, remember, everybody, one of the main things people have been frustrated about the last few months is, where's the arrest? Where's the arrest? I get it. But this is not the Biden administration, like JD Vance just said. They just don't go get people, even if circumstantial evidence is overwhelming. You can't win a court case with Twitter posts, with 4chan board posts. You have to get the real hard evidence. And that's what JD Vance was just saying. That's what they've been working on. However, he also let us in a little bit by saying we have to do this. I love that. And it tells you what's happening because Tim Walz and Ellison, man, they are as deep state as it gets. And this is putting everybody else on notice because Minnesota is one of the worst. That's why it's coming out the first. California's next. If Tim Walz can get busted, well, so can Gavin Newsom, and so on and so forth. This can open up the doors, the floodgates to so much more. So let's hope that's where we're headed. Now, while all this is going on, we also still got Bill Pulte in there. And here's a great little article put together by Mel K, who is pretty good listen if you want to kind of get some deep state breakdowns. But she put this out, and I wanted to go through it real quick. It says the CIA's worst nightmare, Bill Pulte. Well, CIA, especially, we could argue over how far it's come now, over how it's doing under John Ratcliffe, whether there's reform happening, whether it's 20% better, 50% better, 80% better, who knows? But the point is the CIA still represents in the people's minds the ultimate deep state, the connections to MI6, City of London. And she writes this, establishment's terrified, and they should be. Trump tapped Bill Pulte. Panic. House leader and minority leader Hakeem Jeffries rushed to the cameras this week. It delivered the exact talking point intel community wanted him to deliver. He has no experience or in intelligence. He meant it as an insult, but it's his greatest qualification. What kind of experience does Jeffries want? He wants somebody with 3 decades weaponizing the surveillance state, a career bureaucrat who happily signs off illegal FISA warrants, another insider who protects the CIA when it completely operates outside the boundaries of the U.S. Constitution. This is the experience the establishment values. Of course it is, because they're the wing of City of London, MI6. Of course they would not care about our Constitution. Pulte brings something far more dangerous. He brings the mindset of an outsider, a successful executive, independent thinker, understands how to manage massive, complex organizations, knows how to track money and spot institutional rot. Most importantly, his loyalty is to the American people.
The reckoning intel agencies in this company have operated in the dark for decades. CIA, NSA, and broader intelligence community no longer serve the Republic. They serve themselves. They meddle in domestic politics, label the truth as disinformation, operate with massive unchecked budgets no one the public's allowed to see. Pulte isn't going to Washington to manage the bureaucracy. He's going there to audit it. And Trump's already said he can fire a bunch of people. Outsider's the only person to do this job right now. Can't send a product of the intel swamp to drain the intel swamp. Send someone unafraid to open the books, who will expose the unconstitutional operations finally hold. So exactly everything I've been saying, but she, I trust Mel K. She's very smart. And he says a permanent state's finally facing a reckoning. Another reason I want to add, or thing I want to add to this, is Mel is not as white-pilled as I am. I love her. I love her content. But she's a little more black-pilled than I am, and that's okay. I get it. She's been studying some of this dark stuff for a long time. But I'll tell you, the fact that she thinks this is a huge thing tells me something really good is coming. Now, with all this exposure happening, the fraud cracking down, Bill Pulte and the intelligence position with all freaking out, they're starting to show us who they really are. Cornyn, who just got beat by Paxton, came out yesterday and said, do you have more freedom to go against President Trump? And he said, are you kidding? Of course, absolutely. My Liberation Day, May 26th, that was a primary. My Liberation Day, he calls it. No longer do I have to pretend that I'm MAGA. No longer do I have to, work with President Trump. I get to show who I really am. Interesting. How many other senators are thinking exactly like this? Remember, as I always tell you guys, they think of themselves as the House of Lords. They think of themselves as more important than the president. We're here 6 years. He's only here 4. We'll outlast him. That's their mentality. And since Trump just took a wrecking ball to them and so far has gotten rid of McConnell, now they're still in Senate right now, but they won't be seated next January. So we only have a few more months with these people. But he's gotten rid of McConnell, Tillis, Cornyn, and Cassidy all in one cycle. That's massive. Guess what? Never in a cycle before have we gotten rid of 2 incumbents in primaries. Never. In American history, 2 incumbent senators running for re-election in the Republican Party have never been beaten in one cycle before. Trump knocked out 4. 4 this cycle. And you're dooming? This is amazing. But he's showing us the mentality of so many others. Who else is hiding and waiting? I don't know. But then we get stuff like this. And I'm telling you, more people are just being open about it. Why are they flaunting this so openly? Here's Mike Pompeo with a very interesting message. Where did this come from? Why would he even say this? But Pompeo, who is CIA director under Trump and then Secretary of State, says, within hours of being announced as the nominee to be director of the CIA, I received a hand-delivered message on MI6 stationery. What? Why would you admit that? That's crazy. It was signed simply C in green ink. I don't even know the name of it. Who said it? I don't know. Legendary. I shared it with my son, and even he thought I was now cool. Why is that cool? That you became CIA director and MI6 sent you a letter to congratulate you? Folks, once you see it, you can't unsee it. I say this all the flippin' time. People make fun of me. I say it so much, but you can't unsee it. MI6 is City of London. They are congratulating our CIA director with an unsigned note. That's freaky. More than that, this note from Sir Alex Younger, Chief of Secret Intelligence, confirmed what I already believed. The work that the CIA and MI6 did together mattered. The partnership critical, and 2 leaders focused on the mission could save lives and provide tools for our nations to deter our adversaries. Are you serious right now? He goes on to talk about them and how they work together. Brought our 2 senior teams together in the UK to plan and coordinate and build in the first several weeks of my time on duty. Why? Why would we be coordinating with MI6 just to set up your term? He didn't say we were coordinating on a mission in Afghanistan. No, he said coordinating and build the first several weeks of my time on duty. Maybe they were telling you what to do. Maybe they were giving you the rundown. Hey, this is how it works here, bud. We run the show. We run CIA. We run Mossad. You guys check in with us. Because that's the only thing that makes sense, isn't it? This is our intelligence agencies. Why would we set up the new administration with a foreign power? Says, when we needed help, it wasn't let me see. It was this matters to you and America will get it done. He and his team always did. Many Americans are alive today because of his leadership at MI6. I think this is so crazy that he would admit this. Why not just come out and say, the great leader at blah, 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 MI6, who I knew well, has passed away? That's still weird, but not as bad. Instead of outright admitting that you set up your CIA with the help of MI6. Guys, I don't know about you. That's crazy. That is crazy. So, well, John Conrad sees it. Great account here. Conrad gives us a lot of insight into maritime stuff in the military. This former director of the CIA and Secretary of State admitting what we already knew. The London cabal is more influential than you think. Guys, these are legit big time accounts. This is not conspiracy types. This is not some anonymous person out there. These are well-respected people in politics. Conrad more on the MAGA side, Pompeo on the deep state side, but very well known. They're both admitting, one calling it out, the other one saying it's a good thing, that London is basically controlling our intel agencies, especially the CIA. How crazy is this? But you got to think, either Pompeo made a big mistake here, or he's at the point where he just doesn't care because it's all coming out anyways. I don't know. But does Pompeo seem like the kind of guy who's been in intelligence his whole career? Does he seem like the kind of guy who would mistakenly let that out there? Yeah. I'm sorry, guys, but if you don't still see it, I don't know what to tell you. We are deeply, deeply embedded with City of London, and Trump has been fighting back strongly. Now, look at this. Smartmatic. Smartmatic has been at election machines with all kinds of issues. We've caught them rigging 2020. We've caught them rigging smaller elections. And now they're the machines being used in LA County. Well, LA County administers its own voting system for elections using publicly owned designed voting solutions for all people. VSAP is the county's in-house system featuring ballot marketing devices for in-person voting, produces auditable paper ballots. LA County Registrar fully administers elections. Smartmatic served as a primary contractor and systems integrator for all their voting. Smartmatic is privately held multinational company headquartered in London. You can't make this stuff up. It's insane. I just founded in Venezuela. Interesting there, right? Founded in Venezuela. And then what happened after 2000 when you get Chavez and Maduro coming in? Oh, yeah. Deep state. CIA gets in there. CIA, MI6. Now the company is headquartered, founded in 2000 in Venezuela, now headquartered in London. It's all starting to come out, guys. People are starting to put it all together. Exposure is here, and this is one of the reasons they're panicking. This is one of the reasons it's getting bad for them. We can all see it. And then, of course, we have City of London working through the grifters. They're still pushing their narratives. Bannon, yesterday, had Trita Parsi on from the Quincy Institute. This is Bannon. Bannon's still the one people aren't as sure about, right? He's all over the Epstein files, but you know what? I covered all that, and I get a ton of people who are still like, Bannon's not bad. He was just doing research for his documentary. Okay. Whatever you want to believe there. But then why put up a guy like this who is the Quincy Institute executive vice president funded by Soros, who just gave Joe Kent a nice contract. Yeah. Not looking too good there, Bannon. Why? We can see this now. This is not hard to figure out. I'm telling you, I think they're becoming more and more open as it's cracking down on them. Remember, starting in March, once Tucker, Megyn Kelly all went all in, Alex Jones went 100% anti-Trump. I told you guys from that moment, I think it's all assets deployed time. We're doing everything we can to stop him because Iran is the key to breaking their last major foreign stronghold, to crushing trillions of dollars because of the shipping insurances and the oil prices that they could manipulate. Also taking away their biggest way of destabilizing the Middle East whenever they want to, because through Iran they could control Hezbollah, Hamas. It's the key to so much. It's all assets deployed. And now Bannon is just having these people on like, you know what? Whatever. We're just going to get you out there. Act like you're a conservative. And then this one kind of stings for a lot of people. But I showed you guys the other day that General Flynn is collecting $100,000 a month from a Balkan country as a consultant. That's weird. He registered it, so he's not hiding it. And now he's saying stuff like this. This is General Flynn, well trusted in the QAnon community. And yet he keeps doing stuff like this where I'm like, what? Why would he come out and say, I don't believe Charlie Kirk people knew he was a Catholic. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Catholic. Why are you throwing this stuff out there? And so easily debunkable and so crazy. Like, what's the point of this psyop? Why are we trying to rewrite Charlie's history? It's not hard to see. I mean, Charlie right here himself. This is 7/22/25. Do you think Charlie converted to Catholicism in 2 weeks? Listen to Charlie's own words on Catholicism.
I have three major theological disagreements with Catholicism. It's not a mystery. I talk about it publicly. The first of which would be the infallibility of the Pope and the whole process and the idea of the Vatican. The second of which is Mariology. And the third of which is just less important, but it's transubstantiation. I do not hold that view.
Three things he disagrees with on Catholics. Pretty clear not Catholic. 2 weeks before he died. And General Flynn is trying to push this narrative. Again, guys, can you see just the hands? Like, City of London is getting sloppy. Why are they getting sloppy? Because it's all assets deployed time. It is throw as much crap against the wall to see what sticks as we can, because we are floundering. Trump is crushing us. This is getting very, very bad for us. America's starting to heal. It's starting to change. We can't allow this, because once you get a generational cultural change, guys, that is much, much harder to roll back than some economics, than a war, stuff like that. Even one election. And now what they're trying to do is completely rewrite the history of Charlie Kirk. And I'm sorry, but this is egregious. And this, for me, like, I haven't really trusted General Flynn for a while, but I gotta say, this is the last straw. At this point, he's 100%, in my opinion, deep state, because this is just such a crazy lie. Such a crazy lie. With all this going on, though, Trump, they posted this again last night. The White House, trust. President Trump saluting, patriots are in control. This is the second time this week they've posted patriots in control. Do you think we're winning, folks? Do you think things are moving ahead a little bit? I would say so. We have the economy starting to turn around. They're starting to go after the real fraudsters, starting to get bigger names. They're getting sloppier. We're starting to see more and more connections to the globalists, the City of London. It's just getting more and more open and out there. Oil prices are starting to go down. Iran has no leverage anymore. Yeah, midterms are starting to look terrible for Democrats. I would say that we're definitely winning. We're really anybody who doubts this Trump administration knows what they're doing. Well, you can all you want, but I got to say this messaging pretty strong. And for those who've been paying attention, I think we absolutely understand. Patriots are in control. Deep state, City of London, the whole system is being broken in front of our very eyes. It's a wonderful time because the more this happens, the better things are going to get. I'm pretty pumped. I gotta admit it. All right, guys, please hit that like and subscribe. The next segment, I'm going to show you guys some major data that just came out showing how America's healing, especially culturally. And so we're going to get into that. And some of the cultural results of what Trump's pulling off. But before I do, let's get back into the chat. Let me make sure I catch up with any super chats, any tagged quotes, questions. And I did see a super chat. Remington with the $5 super chat says, we need a new dedicated arm of the government, like the IRS, but specific to fraud, like a permanent DOJ, DC's own internal affairs. Well, I got to tell you, I completely agree with you. The problem with permanent means the Senate has to create it. That's not going to happen. So I think what the Trump team has done is the next best thing, which is creating the fraud division, led by J.D. Vance. So I think that's the next best thing. And, we got to hope that it holds, and it probably will last the entire Trump administration. And then maybe beyond that, depending on who we get in president next, which, it's going to be Vance or Rubio. Remington, again, with a $5 super chat. Another one says, can we add Catherine Austin Fitts to Bill's team, to Pulte's team? I got to look into that. I still don't know who that is. I'm sorry. I haven't had time to look her up. But, if she's as great as you say, it might just happen. A lot of the people we've wanted got in with Trump, and he's made a lot of people very happy. Finalist Poetry says, my favorite beer joke. It's unsafe. There are so many female hormones. When you drink enough, you lose control of your emotions and you can't drive. Okay, that's funny. Lisa Doxy says, nothing's getting done until non-MAGA Republicans are out. I agree with you mostly. I wouldn't say nothing, but we definitely can't get enough, can't get as much as we want done. I would agree with that. Let's see here. Anybody else tag me on something? Barwatch says Flynn can't be trusted. I agree. That's what I said. Heather says, I can't listen to Newscomb or Bass. I'm a Christian. It's hard not to hate those two. I hate their character and agenda. I understand that completely. It's about recognizing what you hate. And you can hate people's agendas. You can hate people's ideas. There's a lot you are allowed to hate, but yeah, the person themselves, it's just try not to go there. It's hard. I agree with you, but that's what we got to try to do. They want the liberal globalist Pope to have more influence over Americans. I mean, they do, but here's the thing. I had somebody the other day be like, I can't trust you because you don't list the Vatican as behind everything. I'm like, well, because it's not. The Vatican's part of it, don't get me wrong, and they've used it for all kinds of terrible stuff. But the Vatican has significantly decreased in power the last 100 years. City of London, the financial system, is where the most power is now. And that's just a fact. I mean, how many times, I've been doing this work now for several years, all the research, and very little of it traces back to the Vatican. Very little of it. There's three major hubs of power in the globalist system, right? There's the City of London financial system, which is its own carved out mile by mile place inside of London. And then it's a system that expands beyond that. You can date it back to the British Empire and then even beyond. And then there's the Vatican, which is a square mile place inside of Rome, that's sovereign. And then there's Washington, D.C., which isn't quite sovereign, but it is its own place within America. It's not a state, and it's not a city of a state. And that's the military wing. So you got the religious, military, and financial wing. Well, the religious wing has significantly lost its power over the last 100 years because of a lot of reasons, some of it purposeful, which is like the less people being religious, the spread of secularism, so on and so forth, Catholic scandals that turn people against it. And then you got the military wing, Washington, D.C., which is also very more powerful than the others, taken over by Trump. The people took it back. And so now what you have left in the globalist system is the financial system they've created that holds the EU together and has the original intel agencies, MI6, running for them and doing all this soft power grabs. And it's now being severely beaten back because we got DC back. That's one way of looking at it. And it's a little bit of a simplified way, but yeah, I'd say the least powerful in all those is Vatican. Flynn's not getting 100,000 from Russia. It's from a Balkan country. I can't remember what it is, but you're right about the 100,000 a month. I covered it yesterday. Let me see. Brian says, curious, EMB and JF. Who's EMB and JF? Oh, Burlingame and Joaquin Flores. Seem to think Kent's a patriot. I think otherwise. Okay, I'll say this. We're allowed to have disagreements in this community, right? I like Burlingame stuff, especially on City of London. I think he's a genius. I completely disagree with him with Kent. Now, he apparently has some personal connection to Kent. So maybe he knows him personally, and because of that, he either knows something different than I do, or he's too close to it to see what I see. I don't know which one it is. I'm open to being wrong about Kent, but I can't ignore the fact that he's doing everything all the other grifters are doing. So I will not trust Joe Kent, no matter who tells me to trust him, until I actually see something positive out of what he's doing. And as far as Joaquin Flores, I mostly like Joaquin Flores' stuff too. But Joaquin was also completely wrong about Massey. So but we're all allowed to have disagreements. I seriously disagree with both of them on Kent. Remington with another $5 super chat says, Putin's not a saint, can't be trusted, but we have shared interests with Russia to remove London's influence. Why are we not teaming up? I would argue we are teaming up. So I believe that Russia went into Ukraine to stop World War III when Trump was out of power, and they had to do it. I do think that is actually part of why Russia went in, because of what the globalists were plotting. So I do think we've teamed up. I just don't think it's public. Yeah. Anything else before we go on? Looking forward to a summer shanty. That sounds delicious. That sounds really good. Going to the pool after this with a shanty. Yeah, do I disagree that Vatican and British globalism are connected? Not at all, Ricardo. I just don't think Vatican has that much power anymore. Okie Sooner says, Roger Stone poster is asking about Senator Langford and Christian Falls Creek's camp sex scandal while Langford's against politics. I don't know anything about that, unfortunately. D3 says something really, I think, important. He says, no matter how many sources we have, we're always operating with limited information. I completely agree with you. And I actually try to make this point every once in a while because, I'm very opinionated and I'm very well resourced, and I have a lot of experience talking through this stuff. So I understand how a lot of this works for doing it for years. But having said all that, excuse me, because of that, I come across very confident, right? And I usually stick to what I know. But I will tell you that what D3 says is very important. I also acknowledge, and I've told you guys this before, there are things behind the scenes we don't know. And Trump knows way more than we know. And that's why I trust President Trump and people he trusts in his administration more than I trust myself and more than I trust any other source. So, I don't care what that source is. I trust President Trump more because not only who the source is, whether I like him or not, they don't have the information Trump does. And I believe 100% Trump's on our side. So I always trust Trump the most because he knows more. And yeah, that's why I'm open. Like, listen, it might happen, and I don't think this will happen. I think it's crazy, but it could. It might happen. We find out there was an operation going on where, for example, Joe Ken or Tucker Carlson's actually a good guy, and they were running all this psyop for a bigger game. I don't know. Maybe in the end that does happen. I'll be like, whoop, good job, you got me. That's all, that's, to me, that's all that matters. But as far as I can do, because I don't have inside information, I'm just going to call balls and strikes as I see it. And I'll tell you, if you call balls and strikes as you see it, if you trust the right sources, in this case, the Trump administration, you're going to be right 90, 95% of the time. And that's good enough for me, So, and so I say that a lot. Well, the Wall Street system is the City of London system, Rum Dog. And so I believe as that goes down, as the City of London gets broken, Wall Street will be happening as well. It will get cleaned up. Violence and Poetry says, setting aside papacy, saints, other stuff, I can't agree with Catholics as long as Council of Trent remains canon law. Can I? I don't know enough. I'm sorry. Can't speak to that. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know. I will say in my experience, the vast majority of Catholics I've met are good Christians, good people. I have nothing against Catholics in general. And I do believe they're real Christians. Yes, some of the higher Catholic beliefs can get a little weird. The Vatican stuff, obviously, I have issues with the Vatican, Pope, and all that. But general Catholics and the Catholic faith in general, I believe it's Christian. I believe you can be completely Christian, be a Catholic. I don't believe the same with other stuff, but we won't get into that today. All right. Getting ready to move on. Got to get to the next source. Okay. So, let's see here. Funniest thing I've said all day was that. Trusting beer. I like that. Were my parents Kiss fans? No, not at all. My parents were not Kiss fans. My dad was a pastor. Not a fan of Kiss. Okay. All right. Let's get moving. That's as far as it's going for now. Okay. America's healing. And this latest Gallup poll has a lot of interesting stuff in it I want to cover. But by healing, what I mean is not only is I do believe President Trump steering us in the right direction economically, not only do I believe he's cleaning up the globe in many good ways for us, defeating the globalists, the Davos crowd, the Democrats, City of London, whatever you want to call it, however you want to look at it. Do I believe Trump's reforming all that? 100%. And that is part of the healing process. But the other area where Trump is healing America, or at least starting, he started the trend that broke the spell that's leading to a healing of America, is in the fact that Americans are getting back to common sense and values. And this latest poll shows me that we're trending in the right direction. And I think the further we get away from the globalists, the further we get away from the cabal, the more we reject the leftism, the secularism that they wanted to push on us because of, in communism, you have to get rid of God. You have to get rid of Christians. It's the first thing they do, whether it's Russia with the Soviet Union, whether it's China, whether it's Spain, when the commies took over Spain, they always go after the Christians first. Because you get rid of values, you get rid of people who put God above state, and you remove your biggest threat. Because those are the people who will never bow their knee to you. And so that's what they do. And we've been seeing this in America, this whittling away of our traditional values. But we're starting to see it come back. And we're not where we need to be, but the trend is very strong. So in this this very revealing study that came up from Gallup, we have all these morally acceptable, or the moral acceptability of these following issues, like on abortion. 73% of Democrats think abortion is morally acceptable. I got to tell you guys, I thought that's a crazy number. If you think about Democrats, if you think this is like their God, they're like their big value is abortion. They push it like crazy. And you would think it'd be 90%. If we're getting to 73% of Democrats That's a low number. As high as it is, that's a low number considering how important this issue is to them. 73% think it's morally acceptable, but that means 27% think it's not. That's a quarter. Whereas Republicans are down to 18%. That's a big deal, guys. That means we're waking up to that. Now look at this on changing one's gender. Another big staple of Democrats in 2024. Well, we're at the point where only, obviously, 5% of Republicans, I can't believe it's not 0%. But Democrats, 60%. So that's a full 40%. That's basically split. 40% of Democrats don't think that's morally acceptable. That's a big deal. This one's crazy. Look at with homosexuality. Democrats are now at only 81% accepting homosexuality. 81%. This is one of, they don't exist as a party anymore without this issue. And still nearly 20% of Democrats, 1 in 5 are against it. And Republicans have gone down just the last 4 years, gone down 20% on that issue. This is a spiritual awakening happening, folks. And listen, I'm not picking on gay people. If you're gay and you want to do that behind closed doors, I disagree with it. I don't think it's healthy for you. I don't think it's right, but I'm not going to tell you don't do it. I don't believe in gay marriage. I don't think that should be legal. But honestly, your sin is your sin. We all have issues. I don't care. But Pride Month and all that is disgusting and repulsive, and it's hurting the homosexual community. Look at that. Gay marriage, guys, is ultimately going to be looked back as the worst thing to happen to the gay community because it gave them a little season of celebrating and becoming big. But now the backlash is here, and they've lost Republicans. Now we went from over half of Republicans being accepted of it down to 1/3. That's massive. It's a huge deal. Look at on doctor-assisted suicide. This is huge in Canada and coming to the UK. Democrats down under 70%. Republicans is kind of shocking to me that 3 out of 10 Republicans are fine with it. Isn't that crazy? Sex between teenagers. Only half of Democrats think it's okay. That's interesting. Republicans way down. This one's kind of nuts. Sex between unmarried man and woman. This means free adults, consenting adults, both unmarried. There's still nearly 20% of Democrats who are against this. What? Again, you guys might see the 83% and be like, Democrats are disgusting. I'm saying we already know their values are disgusting. This means there's holdouts. This means there's actually, when you go through all this, you know, at the most, Democrats are up around the low 80s, which means there's still about 1/5 of Democrats who are ready to be open to actual morality ideas. Republicans aren't even 50% on this anymore. Look at pornography. Democrats fight tooth and nail for this to be legal. Oh, it's free speech. Larry Flynt versus the U.S. Less than 50% of Democrats think pornography is okay. That's a wild number. Republicans are under 20%. Guys, this means that in total, only about 35% of Americans think pornography is acceptable. This is a good thing. We're trending in the right direction. This is the kind of stuff that tells you America's healing. These are good numbers, especially considering what the Democrats have been fighting for. Pretty amazing. Our morality is coming back. And I say this to you guys all the time because it's so important. People seem to believe that every 2 years America changes. That's simply not true. It's just that maybe in the last 2 years you finally woke up and so it feels like something just shifted. No, these are generational shifts. Once your morality starts changing in the right direction, it's a shift. What this means is the immorality in America, as far as supporting a lot of these things, it means we peaked. It's not getting worse, it's getting better. The peak is over, the backlash is now here. These numbers are stunning. Stunning. We're trending back to moral values, traditional values again, in the right direction. And this is the beginning, not the end. I read the other day that those identifying as trans is down 50% in just the last 3 years. 50% people identifying as trans. The trend is over. Now, there's a couple others on here that are interesting as well. As I didn't share all of them, but here's the actual list. There's like research with stem cells. You know, nobody really cares about that. But suicide, very low. Divorce. Republicans are at 65%, see it as morally. And like I said, I think there is a moral argument for divorce. But I think divorce in general, just for, you know, craps and giggles, just because you want to get divorced, that's not. But divorce is one of those things where it's not just cut and dry every time. There's actual biblical reasons for divorce. Gambling, we got birth control. Look at polygamy. Polygamy is almost zero for Republicans. Democrats are just at like 15%. Independents, this is like libertarians. They love them some polygamy. It's over 20%. Libertarians, you guys are gross. Extramarital affairs, basically zero for Republicans. That's like 2-3%. About 5% for Democrats. That's good. Affairs are bad. Clothing, death penalty. None of these are surprising, right? Republicans seem to like medical testing on animals more. I'm not sure how I feel about that. but look at cloning. Democrats and Republicans almost identically don't agree in it, but independents are a little more for it. So, but isn't that interesting? I feel like that's very interesting knowledge, seeing like the trend here. Now, you look at like changing one genders. This is a record low. Look at the trend. Down 5 points 2021, 14, down 19 points in 2026. These are good trends, but you can see the trend started in 2021. COVID actually started waking people up, believe it or not. Isn't that fascinating? Heading in the right direction. Again, cultural trends matters, guys. All right. So as Americans are starting to wake back up to traditional values, the Trump administration is waking us back up to excellence, which is also a great value to have, to be proud in your country. This is a pretty crazy story. I don't know how many have been following it. It's very interesting, but it's the fixing of the pool in DC. Now, the Trump administration has fixed the pool for $3 million. Obama said they were going to fix it, and they couldn't for $34 million. But this is how you are headed in the right direction. We're starting to get this stuff done. But here's a little clip for all the people complaining that Trump took $3 million to do this. Here's a reminder of Obama trying to fix it in back in the day, 2012.
There's plenty to take pictures of in downtown Washington, D.C. The Lincoln Memorial, the World War II Memorial, and then there's this. Folks snapping photos of the reflecting pool.
It's really sludgy up this end.
And what's in it?
It's disgusting. It's not right.
Algae.
It's like, smells like wet dog down here, you know. When my dog came home from a stream, he always smelled like this, so it's gross.
The Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool reopened at the end of August to great fanfare after a $34 million renovation that lasted nearly 2 years. But less than a month later, the famous pool of water is full of algae. Algae are simple organisms that thrive in areas where there is heat and sunlight. You have plenty of that here.
The water may not look...
So they spent $34 million, and it lasted for a month. A month. Meanwhile, Trump, with $3 million, did this. Completely changed it. Now it's beautiful and blue. They painted it blue to reflect a deeper blue color, and $3 million bucks. And I guarantee you it's going to hold this time. But this, guys, this is a sign of us healing. I know it's weird. I know like some of you might not get it. But if you look in history at, say, like all the cathedrals, when Christendom was a big thing, when Christian nations loved being Christian nations, we built stuff. We built giant, beautiful cathedrals. We spent time on that stuff. And now, you know, it's like, get a warehouse. And there's no funding towards it. We don't value that stuff anymore. But the thing is like value of monuments of your nation, your church, whatever. That, my friends, is it was always considered in history a glory to God. And this is also like it's a symbol of what we think about our nation. And as the Trump administration keeps saying, like decline is a choice, and we're making the choice to change that now. We're heading in the right direction again. We've given up the choice of decline, and now we're embracing rebuilding. This is the sign of a healthy nation, a healthy culture. And I know it's like, it's not economic numbers. It's not like something to grab at, but I'm telling you, symbolically, this stuff matters. So as our values improve, so does how we look, we present ourselves. We're becoming a proud nation again. This matters because this is what, I have a lot of stuff I criticize Reagan for. But you know what I never criticize Reagan for? I never criticize him for making people proud to be American, for saying it's morning in America again, for making it great to be a patriot. Reagan did that very well, and that's why people remember him so fondly, even when he failed in so many things. But he did that well. He did well for the most part in the economy. He helped bring down the Soviet Union with his policies. All of that made Reagan great. And Trump is doing this to the next level. And he's doing it so we can all see. He's building this monument, the 250th monument, the arch, fixing up, bringing the fountains back in Washington, D.C., getting crime down. This is the kind of stuff that just tells you we're headed in the right direction. And a symbol of this was last night. At the Knicks game, all you hear about is how Trump was booed. And of course he was booed. It's New York. But what they're not showing you is when he was also shown in they've cut out the USA chants. Listen to this. This is at the Knicks game, New York City last night. USA chants. Those are pretty loud. They want you to believe we're not as popular. We're not what Trump's doing isn't beloved. He's the most hated man ever. And meanwhile, even in the heart of the liberal bastion city of New York, he's getting USA chants at a Knicks game. Amidst the boos, I admit there were boos. Absolutely. But guys, making you proud of a nation, giving you hope again for the future, we cannot ignore how powerful those things are. And they're having an effect. This is why Trump is ultimately, along with his policies, going to go down as one of the greatest ever. Because he's giving us back a country to be proud of, and he's awakening up in us the reason to have moral values again. What he's accomplished in exposing the other side, exposing the globalist agenda, the left-wing commie agenda, the City of London agenda, however you want to look at it, by exposing it and showing us the better way, millions of people in America are now embracing it again and heading in the right direction. That's not something that'll go away easy. It's not something that'll go away in one election. That's a generational shift. And it just continues to play into, to me, the absolute overwhelming evidence that we're at the beginning of something beautiful and not the end. This is the beginning of 20, maybe longer, years of rebuilding our nation into a much better place. So America's healing, and I don't think it's deniable at this point. Okay. All right, guys, hit that like, that subscribe. I got one more small segment I'm going to do here, which is kind of fun, but it has to do with aliens. Aliens and Christianity, because of an attack that's going on, a little psyop that's going on online. Not a big one yet, but it could get there. But I do want to talk about it because it's interesting, and with all the disclosure that's been happening. First, let me get into the chat, make sure I catch up with you guys. Not missing anything here. Let's see. Where Where was I tagged? I saw a couple tags. There it is. Violence Poetry says, part of it is the architects who love brutalist designs. They make modern designs universally hideous, gray concrete boxes. I agree with that. Yeah, that is a part of it. But that's that postmodernism. Postmodernism is supposed to not like beautiful things. It's like, what's the point? It's all about utility, and it's gross, you know. All right. Lisa says, average person doesn't know what Trump's accomplishing because of all they watch is MSN. 100%. Yeah. Dog says, I haven't felt this good about voting for someone since Reagan. Trump should have been in sooner. He's always had my vote. I love it. Absolutely. Edwin says, how does the Muslim Islamist invasion of the UK affect this power struggle? London has the largest Muslim population, rising for sure. I mean, I guess a couple thoughts. Number one, I'm not covering London. They are in a bad place. And Europe has chosen decline, and it's staying in that decline. The people in London, the people in France, Belgium, Germany, they've all chosen decline because they've taught themselves to hate who they are. They hate their Christian culture. They hate their whiteness. They hate their past. And the people have been taught this for a long time. And then they were given a bunch of socialist goodies on our dime because their governments didn't have to pay for military protection and other stuff. So they were given this life as if it's like a better life, and we're better than, and then they felt superior to Americans. So you put all that together, and the system they created has been able to get much more embedded and terrible for them. So it's going to take a much bigger push from the people to overcome that, because there's no way they can elect a Trump in these other countries. That their systems are way more corrupt than ours are. And ours was bad. Theirs is way worse. So in UK, Germany, France, you name it, any of these, Spain, any of these countries over there, the people are literally going to have to rise up and overwhelm the system. Whether they do it by like an 80-20 vote that's so overwhelming they can't cheat, but that's, maybe 70-30 would be enough. Or they do it through an actual revolution. I don't know. But yeah, UK, all these countries are in a bad, bad way. And they've chosen decline. They've made peace with it. And now they're dealing with the results of that. And they don't all like it, but they also, I can't, Edwin, I honestly cannot understand how the people of the UK have not decided to fight back yet. It's crazy to me. How as a people have you lost that much pride that you would allow your once beautiful nation to be destroyed the way it's being? So, let's see. Eleazar said, Washington Memorial's representation of Egyptian obelisk. It's not phallic, it's Greek thing. I agree with you. Yeah. People can argue whether or not it's good or bad. I would say it's whatever we make it. But yeah, traditionally it is. It's based off Egyptian. I don't think Trump will become a senator. I think he's done after being president. Dennis says, it's not true. I live in Europe. Tensions are growing, protests increasing. It's the government leaders implementing all this crap under direction of Brussels. Well, I agree with you, Dennis. I didn't say the people chose what they're doing to them. I said the people allowed it to happen on their watch. That's what I meant anyways. I'm not saying you voted for that. And I know there's protests coming. Ireland's a good example of this. But I still don't think the people are fighting back enough. I think it's going to take a lot more. So, but I hope you guys get there. I really do. I really do. Trump will be running Board of Peace. Yeah, that's absolutely true. All right, let's get into this last segment here. It's kind of near and dear to me, but it's also interesting, I think, to the people in general. Steven Spielberg. Excuse me. Hold on, let me take a sip here. I know Ireland's different than the UK, but it's still Europe. I was just talking about European countries. Yeah. No, listen, they have big issues over in UK and Europe. I want Europe to be great. I want it to be great. But there's a lot of work to do there. You guys are way further down the path of decline than we were. We turned it around much faster than you guys did. And unfortunately, that means you got a much bigger mess to clean up. I pray to God you guys do it. I really do. Pray to God you guys do it. I get it, Dennis. He says the problem is there's too many political parties. It's impossible for anyone to win a majority. So coalitions are formed, nothing changes. Well, yeah, that's all by design. I agree with you. That's a big problem. That's why there might need to be a revolution for you guys to actually change it. You guys might not be able to politically fix your future. I'm sorry. Look, I'm calling it from out here. I don't know what you know from boots on the ground. Maybe you know, you obviously know more than I do, but maybe you understand something I don't. And yeah, I understand you got a very steep uphill climb, but you guys have to figure it out. We can't fix it. We can't save you. You have to figure it out. The people have to want it, because even if we saved you and the people don't want it, you'll go right back. So what are you guys going to do? I think it's going to take revolution. I really do. And that doesn't mean it has to be violent, but it could mean you guys, hundreds of thousands of you storm up to your capitals and throw them all out and say, we're done. I don't know what that'll look like. I don't know, but I'm telling you, it's some massive has to happen for Europe to be saved. So, okay. Steven Spielberg, his new movie's coming out. Greatest director ever, at least probably the greatest American director ever. I love many, many of his movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, Jurassic Park, classics, every single one of them. I even love Hook. I love Steven Spielberg as a director. I don't care what his politics are. He makes great entertainment. However, his new one coming out is Disclosure Day, about the aliens. Very interesting timing, right? As the Trump administration just unleashed a bunch about the aliens. And with this all coming out, Spielberg decided to get political where he usually doesn't. And he had this to say.
This truth were just known overnight. If the government announced, yes, we have been keeping this from you since 1947, that would mess up a lot of people. And the movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have? And, is God our God only on this planet? Or is God a God for every system where there's civilization, intelligent life, and even developing life?
That sounds like Mormonism, Stephen. I'm just telling you. I'm sorry. That's a whole nother debate going on right now, which I'm not going to get into. But regardless, he's warning Americans, a Christian nation, 66% Christian, that this movie might challenge your faith. Listen, Stephen, we know fantasy. We're not exactly expecting you to be giving us truth. But let me tell you something. That one of the things, as a lifelong Christian, raised in the church, came to Jesus personally when I was 12 years old, been studying theology for 30 years. I got to tell you, one of the things that drives me nuts in the media is when people act like the Christian faith is so easily debunkable. And you notice he didn't say this is going to make the Hindus question their faith or the Muslims. No, it's specifically directed at Christians. There's a big, what do I tell you? The commies always go after Christianity. It's the most dangerous to them. Okay, followed second by Judaism, because we both believe in the same God. We just believe in differences about what that God's done and how advanced he changed the world through Jesus. So, but regardless, we both believe in Yahweh. And Stephen's saying, oh, we might have an issue here. He's but this is an attack on Christianity because the commies do this. They see it's reviving in America and they're trying to knock it back because the only way they can rule, the only way they can control us is by eliminating our faith. That's why the Russians took out Christianity. That's why the Chinese took out Christianity. And during the Soviet Union, with the Russians. But I wanted to show you guys just a quick little breakdown of how the Bible actually supports an idea of aliens, and we don't have to be afraid of these revelations. And I don't mean aliens the way you're thinking, but there actually is a very strong biblical argument to be made for other beings. And so let's get into it, shall we? Because the Christian faith, which has lasted for over 2,000 years and has never been taken back. In fact, there's still 1 million new Christians every month. Christianity is now at 2.6 billion people worldwide, which is nearly 1/3 of the world population. It is continuing to grow, and there's never been a time in history where Christianity has regressed. It's always progressed, and that's not going to change with your movie, Stephen. But let's talk about that. Biblical reality of interdimensional beings. Now, if you guys ever listen to Joe Rogan, how he's getting high, and all the people he's had on that have met aliens, many of them say they've met the aliens when they've been high on ayahuasca or something like that, because they're getting access to the second heaven, or the astral plane, as others would call it, which is where they meet these interdimensional beings, which are demons, sometimes angels, but usually it's the demons revealing themselves. But scripture assumes a multi-realm cosmos. In fact, the Apostle Paul says there's 3 heavens. He said he went up to the 3rd heaven with where God is. Second heaven being where the angels and demons hang out, and the first heaven being where we are, the physical realm. Spiritual beings operate from heavenly places that intersect our physical world. Ephesians 6:12, Colossians 1:16, visible and invisible. God created all things through Christ, including thrones, dominions, rulers, authorities in the unseen realm. These beings are not bound by the same physical limitations we experience. They can appear, manifest, or withdraw in ways that seem impossible by natural laws alone. Now, there are angels, interdimensional servants of God. Angels are created ministering spirits who can move between realms and appear in various forms, which would seem like an alien if you met one, and if you didn't know. Hebrews 1:14, Genesis 18-19, Hebrews 13:2. You know what every angel says when they first see him? They say, don't fear. Why? Because they're scary and intense looking. They don't look like humans. I mean, I'm not saying they don't have humanly features, but they're not what we would expect them to be, as from like this nice, easy, not awe-inspiring, impressive what's the word I'm looking for? Impression. Biblical descriptions sometimes include dramatic, otherworldly phenomena. In Ezekiel 1, cherubim orphanim with wheels within wheels, full of eyes, moving without turning, accompanied by lightning and glory, often compared to modern UAP descriptions, but clearly identified as angelic beings. Chariots of fire and supernatural transport with the Elijah going up to heaven. 2 Kings. Holy angels glorify God, delivers message, and refuse worship. Fallen angels and demons, interdimensional deception. Some angels rebelled and left their proper domain of authority. Jude 6, 2 Peter 2:4. They're capable of deception and can appear in counterfeit forms. Interesting. Counterfeit forms means they can make themselves look into something different. 2 Corinthians 11:14, Satan himself disguises as an angel of light. Genesis 6, 1-4 describes sons of gods, frequently understood as angels in parallel passages like Job, producing the Nephilim. This event is linked to increased wickedness on earth and may lie behind ancient myths of sky gods or hybrid beings. It's 100% true. It's very possible. Demons operate through spiritual influence, false signs, and sometimes physical or psychological effects. Whoa, just like aliens? Physical or psychological effects? That sounds like some people have described aliens doing to them. Many historical and modern accounts of alien encounters, quote unquote, fear, paralysis, sexual components, anti-Christian or New Age messaging, parallel long documented patterns of demonic activity. This is true. Pagan deities of nations are often identified in Scripture as demonic entities. Also true. Deuteronomy, Corinthians. The interdimensional view fits the data without clashing with theology. The Bible already provides categories for intelligent, non-human beings who are not bound to one planet, who can interact with humanity across realms. The view explains real phenomena, sightings, encounters, effects, while remaining fully consistent with existing Christian doctrine on creation, unseen realms, spiritual warfare, and discernment. Existing Christian doctrine. In other words, Stephen, you can't scare us, bro. Our faith has more than enough room for this. As long as it's the real thing and not your your fiction. Doesn't require new revelations, multiple incarnations, or revisions to the gospel. Many reported encounters cease or are prevented when the name of Jesus is invoked, consistent with the authority believers have over demonic forces. This is true. Let me tell you guys, as somebody who has, no longer, but I was in deliverance ministry for 10 years. You know what deliverance ministry means? It means I deal with the messes created by the supernatural. I deal with people who are demonically oppressed or possessed. Which I'll tell you, the vast majority of people are oppressed. There's very few that are possessed, but they do get intertwined in bad understandings. But I've dealt with a lot of demons. They're not scary. They're very easy to get rid of if you know what you're doing. They have no authority against a Christian. The problem is most Christians don't recognize the authority they have. Demons compared to us are very weak because we have Jesus in us and Jesus kicks butt. They don't. Jesus is God. Demons are little pansy beings compared to that. So yeah, we get rid of them pretty easy. The vast majority of people who are afflicted by demons are afflicted because they believe a lie, and that lie they believe gives legal precedence for the demons to stay. So believing truth, which is put on the helmet of salvation, the sword of truth, those things are legit. Truth is the number one way to fight the enemy. And that's a fact. And I can tell you from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of dealing with this stuff, it's real. And yeah, it can seem like you're dealing with alien stuff. Now, I've never seen them manifest physically. I've heard it happens. But a lot of people encounter these things when they're tripping or they're projecting themselves across the astral plane, stuff like that. But again, the point is aliens do exist if you don't understand Scripture. But Scripture actually gives you a better understanding of aliens. So there's discernment. Scripture commands every believer to test every spirit. Key test is whether an entity confesses Jesus Christ come in the flesh as the unique Son of God who died for sins and rose again. Alleged alien messages frequently promote syncretism, human divinity, or redefinition of Jesus. Markers of deception. Holy angels point people to true God. Deceptive spiritual beings undermine gospel and draw people away. Believers are called to walk in discernment of the authority of Christ rather than fear or fascination. Yep. And even if there were physical beings, which I don't think they are, and I don't think we'll ever find them, but let's just say there are some, we can still make a case. Even in this hypothetical case, the Bible is silent. Silence, not prohibition. Scripture doesn't claim Earth is the only location of life in the universe. It doesn't, although it alludes to it. And I believe Earth is the only place of life in the universe. And I do believe that is from a scriptural understanding. However, there isn't the exact verse that says this is the only place with life. God's sovereignty is cosmic in scope. Any life exists would still be created by and under the lordship of Christ. Humanity's uniqueness is rooted in our particular redemptive story and being made in God's image. This is also very true. Incarnation, God became man, is God's specific action for fallen humanity. As C.S. Lewis argued in Religion and Rocketry, discovering other rational beings would not logically invalidate what Christ did for us. It would be presumptuous to assume we must be the only creatures who matter to God. That's also a possibility. Redemptive questions are interesting but not fatal to faith. If other beings are fallen, God in his infinite wisdom could address their situation consistently with his character. The Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis does a really good job of breaking this down. And it's very interesting. Core doctrines, Trinity, deity, and resurrection of Christ, salvation by grace through faith, authority of Scripture would remain completely unchanged. So, sorry, Stephen. All that to say, guys, I just wanted to show you how no matter what happens this weekend, what Disclosure Day says, what we find out from the U.S. government, there are, it's not going to affect any of our beliefs. It doesn't have to. And there's a complete scriptural basis for all of it. So I thought it was very important to share that. Sometimes, I'm all about breaking narratives, and my faith is very important to me, the most important thing to me. So whenever I see challenges like this, I'm like, you know what, Stephen? I love your direction. Love your movies. But, I'm going to call you out on this one and show the real truth. Because, guys, quite frankly, I've yet to find anything that could ever, no matter what conspiracy or what, ever disprove the Christian faith, which is why I believe it. And it's also why, along with my experiences, it's also why C.S. Lewis, who was an avowed atheist, came to believe it as well. And he would call it the only myth out of all the mythologies he loved that actually is the true one. And so I wanted to just display a little bit of why I'm there as well. All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Let's get into the chat. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll hang out in the chat the rest of the time today. Let's see if I missed what I missed here. I did see a tag. Let me do this tag. Funds of Poetry says, I don't believe humans when they deny Christ and his lordship. You think I'm going to believe some blip-blop reptile scale back because it came down a salvo? I like that. That's funny. Chiar Maria says, notice how people never question if other historical figures in religion ever existed. People only question if Jesus existed. That's right, because that's the only one that's a threat to them. Man, I've set some people over this. Travinajik. These so-called aliens are more likely demons, watchers from Genesis 6, pagan gods vying for return. I agree. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Ask any person who says interdimensional beings what that word means. They can't explain it. I could explain it. There's multiple dimensions. There's 3 heavens. There are 3 dimensions, and interdimensional beings can go between them. There, I did it. Scientific evidence that someone or something or some greater power made this human life possible. That's absolutely true. Yep. There is, they still haven't proved macroevolution, which is like supposed to be their big thing. They've taken the form of Democrats. That's funny. Dog says, I believe in guardian angels. Absolutely. That's very biblical. They look like some aliens, Somalians. You guys are hilarious. All right. Thank you, Sheetsky. I appreciate that. I should have thousands of likes. I appreciate that. Please, just in case, guys, you forgot, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the hype if you can. I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I like teaching on this stuff. I know it's not the big, I could see how like my views went way down after doing that. It's fine. That's why I saved it for last. This is for a very specific group interested in these deeper dives, but I find it fun. And, it's always funny to me. There's a lot of people who like agree with me politically. And then as soon as I get into like my spiritual stuff, they get upset at me. And I'm like, why can't we just get along, agree to get along? But some people don't like, and it's always funny to me how like my political beliefs are less offensive than my spiritual beliefs. I don't know. I think that's hilarious. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Bobby Girl says, I know we have concerns about Bannon, so why isn't America's Voice running him off? Is American Voice run by Bannon or created by him? I don't know. He gets great views. It's hard to kick somebody who's getting you views, So I don't know. That's a good question. Nick Major says, needs to be more education on principalities and powers. Also Elohim. Yeah, I mean, there does, but then you can spend way too much time focused on it. I actually think there's an over focus on the supernatural when it comes to angels and demons. And usually because of people coming up with reasons to be afraid of demons. They're not scary, guys. Not if you know who you are. They're scary to people who don't understand their power. They're scary to people who aren't Christian, but they're not scary to us. Do you understand like how small the devil is to God? He's a little baby. He's a little, he's beat up. In Colossians, it says that Jesus, when he went after the cross, he paraded the devil and the enemy around as a defeated foe. He paraded him out there. He was bragging about it. Like, look, he's defeated. We won. That's in Colossians. So, devil's not scary. I don't understand. Like, people focus way too much on it. And I can tell you as somebody who's, dealt with this stuff directly. Gospel's inherently offensive because it holds up a mirror to us, shows us how. Well, I agree. I get all that stuff. Titus says, Grifter report. Did we miss it? Well, no, I didn't do a full Grifter report today. What I did do is, because this wasn't much to talk about, but what I did do is I kind of folded in the Grifter news into my City of London segment on the PSYOPs they're running. So, yeah. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people want the supernatural without Jesus. That is very true. That's very true. I don't think Enoch's required reading. It's interesting, but I don't think it's required. I think it's good for people to read, especially if they want to understand, more about spiritual beings. But I don't think it's required. I actually agree with the people who put the Bible canon together that it's not canon. It's not necessary. It's just interesting. Katie Cat says, I'm Catholic and we get along. Yeah, Katie, you're awesome. I love it. I already said I like Catholics. I really do. I love Catholics. I just don't like the Vatican. I don't like the Pope. But I do like Catholics in general. I've never met a Catholic I don't like, honestly. Yeah, I'll be honest, guys, at my place now where I'm at, I don't believe in denominations, period. I don't believe in identifying as Baptist, Catholic, Episcopalian, Lutheran. I don't believe that. I think it's actually been very harmful to the body of Christ that we've all identified with different sects of Christianity instead of just coming together as Christians. So I no longer identify with any of them. I say I'm a kingdom-minded Christian. That's what I call myself. I think they all have strengths and weaknesses. And I think that, we should all be focused on the Bible and understanding how we can impact the world moving forward with Jesus and making the world the best place possible for the future. And, to wait till when Jesus comes. But we shouldn't be hiding. We shouldn't be bunkering down saying, oh, the world needs to get worse for Jesus to come back. I think that's so harmful. And I think it's really hurt Christians' influence in the world. And so, yeah, I think we just all need to find out what we agree upon and stick to truth. And you notice how a lot of these places that have become more about their denomination than about Bible and about Jesus, they're the places compromising. The Methodist Church allowing all kinds of craziness in now with the LGBTQ community. The Catholics, the Pope has made all kinds of allowances for stuff that's just not okay. And that's because they chose their denomination as their faith over being a Christian. And I think that's very, very dangerous. I really do. And so I don't identify with any denomination at all. I just love Jesus, man. I just love Jesus. Do right-wing podcasters get more commercials on YouTube or what? I don't know. Do I get a lot of commercials? Paul commanded us to bear with one another in love, never given permission to schism over minor issues. Absolutely. In fact, Paul says the opposite. He says that there's 5 things. It's off the top of my head. I can't remember which verse it is. But he basically says that there's 5-6 things we all have to agree on, and the rest we can figure out as we go. So, when they when in Acts, when they're talking about baptizing Gentiles, and they're like, well, should we make them Jewish? Do we make them adhere to the whole law? And Paul is like, no. Basically, and he talks to James, the leader of the church in Jerusalem, who is Jesus's brother, and he says, what do we tell them? And they agree that don't have sexual sin. That's number one after you become a Christian, and don't eat food sacrificed to idols, And there's a third one. I can't remember what it was. But it's 3 things. They don't tell them to go read the whole Bible and follow the entire law. They're like, just when you become a Christian as a Gentile, just follow these 3 things and get started on that. And we'll work out the rest. That's like literally what it says in the book of Acts. So when we're like, oh, you're a Christian, now you must be perfect, and we throw all these rules at people, it's like, no. Like, let's make it basic. How about you keep pursuing Jesus and keep growing? And in the meantime, don't do any sexual sin, and we like throw out a couple of like really important things, and we start there. But that's what the original Christians did. So, because they knew it's a process, right? Sanctification is a process. You become more like Jesus over time. You don't just immediately get better. C.S. Lewis would always say, like, the way he knew somebody was truly a Christian was because they were better than they were before. He didn't say it's because they do this or that or they're great at this. He said, nope, they're just better than they were before. That's how I know they're a Christian. That's from C.S. Lewis. So, drink the blood of animals. Was that it? Now you got me wondering. Let's look it up. Acts, Gentiles. Let's see here. Here it is. Yeah. Food sacrificed to idols, blood, meat of strangled animals, and sexual immorality. Yep. It's like, they were like, hey, please don't do this. It was like, they didn't even give them the 10 Commandments. It's just like, and this was a council that met over this. Peter testified salvation comes through faith, not circumcision or adherence to the Torah, which is the law. Council concluded Gentiles could be saved without circumcision, but for unity and to allow Gentiles to join Jewish believers, they were advised to abstain from 4 things. Look, this doesn't even say because it was sin. So out of all of these, guess what? The only one that's sin is this. Because Paul writes later in Romans that you could eat food sacrificed to idols. It's not sin. He says just don't do it in front of your neighbor because they'll think it's a sin. Obviously, man, rare meat's the best. And, so these were all just to fit in with the Jews. This is the only sin they told them not to do. Don't sleep with, don't have sex outside of marriage. Don't bunk up with your buddy. You're good for now. It's so funny to me how strict we are nowadays. We're like, don't cuss. Well, like, well, yeah, it's better not to, especially over time, but if you like every other word you ever use was the F word and you then become a Christian. And then the people who are like, no, you can never cuss again, or you've lost your faith. People, that's intense. How about let's start with the big ones. Let's start with the sins that have the biggest negative effects on your own body. And so this interesting stuff. It's always funny to me how not religious Jesus and the early Christians were. They weren't religious at all. And they were the best of us, right? But they were not religious. So that's why I don't agree with being that's why I don't adhere to any denomination. Okay? I just don't. So Sabbath Smile says, is Sabbath Saturday or Sunday? Well, that's a great question. Let's look it up, shall we? I'm going to kind of blow your mind here because I have an answer that's you're not going to expect. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Traditionally, the Jews saw Sabbath as Saturday. And then the Christians changed it to Sunday because that's the day Jesus was raised from the dead. But you know what the real answer is? What's the Sabbath? Well, I got to tell you guys, the Sabbath is any day. Look at this. His works have been, he's talking this whole thing's about the Sabbath, so I'll start at the beginning. Since the promise of entering his rest still stands. All right, that's at the beginning right here. Let us be careful, none of you be found to have fallen short of it. For we also have the good news proclaimed to us as they did. The message they heard was of no value to them because they didn't share the faith of those who obeyed. Now we who believed enter that rest, just as God said, that rest, God's rest, Sabbath rest. So I declared an oath in my anger, thou shalt never enter my rest. And yet his works have been finished since the creation of the world. For somewhere he's spoken about the seventh day in these words. On the seventh day, God rested from all his works. And again, the passage above, he says, they shall never enter my rest. Therefore, since it still remains for some to enter that rest, and since those who formerly had the good news proclaimed to them did not go in because of their disobedience, God again set a certain day, calling it today. This he did right a long time. We spoke through David, as the passage already quoted. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For Joshua had given them rest. God would not have spoken later another day. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from his. Therefore, let us make every effort to enter that rest so no one will perish by following their example of disobedience. In other words, the Sabbath is available to you on every single day. God called it today. There is no Sabbath day legally anymore in the Bible. The Sabbath is a habit which you should take part of. You should set aside a day if you can every week where you rest. It doesn't mean sit on your butt all day, but even Jesus said that was crazy how they were handling the old Sabbath. But it's, a day where you maybe play, you enjoy your family, your friends, you rest from most of your work. That's what you should do every day. It's good. And I mean, science has proven it to be good, but there is no legal Sabbath anymore. Okay. There's in the New Testament under Jesus. Remember, the old law doesn't exist anymore. Get it out of your minds. The Judaic law is dead. In the New Testament, the Sabbath is any day you make it. It's whatever you want it to be. But you should take a Sabbath rest, but it's available to God any day, or available to you any day in God. That's what the Sabbath is. David 123 with the $20 super chat. Thank you, brother. That's very sweet of you. How does one know if you're a Christian protected by Jesus? I see a lot of Orthodox Catholics and other claim if you're not following it this way or that, you're not a Christian, therefore not protected. Great question. Let me tell you, it's between you and God. It's that simple. No one can tell you whether or not you're saved. You can, if you have accepted Jesus in your heart and declare him as Lord, this is what Paul says. Accept Jesus in your heart, declare him as Lord, you're saved. If you truly believe Jesus saved you and you receive that salvation and you're growing in him and you felt him and you get baptized, because that's important, you're a Christian. And from there, it's about how you walk it out with Jesus. And no one can tell you whether or not you're saved. In fact, Jesus says you're not allowed to judge somebody's heart. So if anybody, Orthodox, Christian, Catholic, they tell you their way is the only way, they're lying to you and they're being anti-biblical. And they do not get to judge you like that. It's between you and God. And only God knows and only you know. So, but thank you, brother. Jen asks, what about divorce for women who do a full 180 after certificate's signed? So he married a woman that was false in every way. Well, unfortunately, there's not a biblical example for that. What there is there's cheating, which that one's the one everybody knows, right? But the other one is abandonment by an unbelieving spouse. So in, it says God hates divorce. There's a lot of stuff on that. But what is the verse on that? Is it Ephesians? I'm trying to remember where it says if they leave. If they leave. Man, what verse is it? It's driving me crazy. But basically, Paul says that if the unbelieving spouse, in other words, if you're abandoned, you have a right to divorce spiritually. Now, I'm a little more open than others teachers would be. Like, I believe that if you're abused by your husband or wife, like physically abused, emotionally abused, and it's legitimate, like you're going to commit suicide because your life's so miserable, I actually believe that fits as being abandoned because they've abandoned their vow to you. I think there's a biblical case to be made for that. I don't advocate for women or men. It's less men, but it does happen. Staying in a completely abusive marriage. I don't think that's God's design. I really don't. Andrew Wilson, yeah, I like Andrew. I have disagreements with him though. I think there can be some benefits to orthodoxy, but I don't think it's necessary. What do I think about the Gospel of Thomas? Gospel of Thomas is an abomination. Gospel of Thomas is literally no. Hold on, I'll show it to you. The Gospel of Thomas is just, there's no proof that it was written when in the old days. It does not have any of the proof the other Gospels have that it came from other people, like the actual Thomas. It's a Gnostic gospel, and Gnosticism is what the Apostle John called the Antichrist spirit. And the first book of John completely debunks Gnosticism. And the Gospel of Thomas is Gnostic. It's a false gospel to try to get you to believe lies about Jesus and to get Gnosticism. So, but look, Irenaeus, the original father, or these are early church fathers. Irenaeus, he defends the fourfold gospel and exposed Gnostic myths, which means he doesn't include Thomas as a gospel. Tertullian catalogs and refutes the Gnostic systems. Muratorian fragment includes most New Testament books and excludes spurious writings like Thomas. Hippo and Carthage, they rejected Thomas. I mean, all the early church people just rejected books of Thomas. So it's like they're historical curiosities, but they don't hold up, and even the early church fathers didn't recognize them. So there's just, the Gospel of Thomas is trash. I would just stay away from it. I mean, you can read it. I'm never saying like banning a book, but it's just don't look for theology in it. You Blue Lemma says, break the least of my commandments, you've broke them all. What are you talking about? Are you talking about what? You trying to tell me that if I work on a Saturday, you go to hell? That is the stupidest thing anybody could ever say regarding Christianity. I'm sorry, but you're speaking abject nonsense right now. Jesus never commands that you rest on the Sabbath. He says it's good. He says the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, it's not even a command, like the 10 Commandments, sure, but that's not. We don't live under the 10 Commandments now. We live under a better gospel. In fact, Jesus said, and if you hate your neighbor, you've now murdered. So he calls us to something bigger than the 10 Commandments, deeper than the 10 Commandments. The whole idea of like, if you work on a Saturday, you're condemned. That's retarded. There's literally no biblical basis for that whatsoever. You can cherry pick verses all you want, but that's stupid. That's a stupid belief. I'm sorry. Sorry you've been brainwashed to believe that, but that's stupid. That doesn't hold up at all. Rudolf Steiner, mostly dangerous. There's some stuff that, Steiner had some interesting thoughts, but I think overall his approach to Christianity, you're talking about, what's it called? Waldorf. Yeah, Waldorf. I don't like a lot of Steiner stuff. Full disclosure, my father actually wrote a book debunking Steiner. So I don't, I'm not saying all his stuff's bad, because he had some very interesting stuff on like holistic healing and health, but his theology stuff gets a little shady. Yeah, you're right. Committing a sin after accepting Jesus does not make you condemned. This is so stupid. Okay, the only way to go to hell is to not accept Jesus. Guess what? Peter sinned after accepting Jesus. Every disciple, every human has sinned after accepting Jesus. But what does it say here? God, I hate this talk, but I have to do it. Because sometimes we get the religious people in here and they just say the most insane things. Da, 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 da. Where is it? That's not the one I was looking for. It's in John. I just got to find the right verses. Sorry guys, I know this is gripping stuff, but you guys are asking for it. Oh man, I'm having trouble finding the right verse. Give me almost there. Oh man, sorry guys, I'm stuck here real quick. There's a verse in John that talks about if we sin. And I'm having trouble finding it. I used to have this verse memorized, and now I'm mad that I've forgotten what the exact verse is. Well, all right. I can't find the exact verse, but I will go back to, like, there's several things in here that are interesting. So, all right, this is not the exact one, but it's close. So if we claim we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, truth is not in us. But it says, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just and will forgive our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. So that's it. If you confess your sins, okay, it's that simple. And once you're with him, you don't have to worry about it going over and over and over again. This is like, you know, you should still go to him. For Jesus tells us in the Lord's Prayer, you know, you confess your sins every time you say that. But if you say, I know him, but do not do what he commands, is a liar. Truth's not in that person. But if you obey his word, truly make complete in them. This is how we know we are in him. Anyone who claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. Where is it? Anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or sister is still in the darkness. Anyone who loves their brother and sister lives in the light. There's nothing in them to make them stumble. I mean, it's like it's talking about hating people as being like one of the worst things you can do. Don't love the world, for the love of the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, this is what he's talking about in the world. It's not just everything in the world. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of flesh comes not from the Father and from the world. This is the last hour. You've heard the Antichrist is coming. Even now, many Antichrists come. This is where he's talking about Gnosticism. This is how we know it's the last hour. This is why I don't believe the end times are 2,000 years in the future. I believe he was talking about the destruction of Jerusalem coming because they were in the last hour right there. Where's the next part? See what great love the Father has upon us. Everyone who sins breaks the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness, but he appeared so he might take away our sins, and in him is no sin. No one who lives in him keeps on sinning. No one who continues to sin has either sinned in him or known him. Now, what does this mean? This means you're not walking with him if you deliberately choose to keep sinning. Okay? It doesn't mean you're not like going to have a bad day. Keep on sinning is deliberate. All right, right there. But there is the verse where it talks about if you sin. I'm missing it right now. And maybe it's not John. Maybe it was Peter. I could have swore it's in this chapter though. If anyone acknowledges Jesus as the Son of God, God lives in them and they in God. So, I mean, it's not like rocket science here of how to become a Christian. So that's what you need to do to be in God, guys. If you acknowledge Jesus as the Son of God, God lives in them and they in God. It's, Paul says you declare it with your, heart, or in your heart and you say it out. So, God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, God in them. This is how love is made complete among us, so we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world, we're like Jesus. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. One who fears is not made perfect in love. So there's a good disclaimer for anybody fearing. And the last part I want to get to... I know, I'm going through the whole book now. Sorry, guys. This is not my plan. No, the born is saying this. If you see a brother or sister commit a sin does not lead to death, you should pray, and God will give them life. For those who sin is death. But anyways, sin and what sin is, and it's not breaking the Sabbath. Let me put it that way. There are sin is, it always has to do with love and being perfect in love. And God tells us what that love looks like. Don't murder, don't hate, don't steal, don't fornicate, don't engage in homosexual acts, don't abuse children. All this is sin. Hatred in your heart. Jesus says, you've heard it said, do not murder. I tell you, you hate in your heart, you've committed murder. So Jesus told me to replace the Niners out of the Seahawks. That's not happening. That would be a sin. Because Paul says that those who go against their own convictions are sinning. That would be against my conviction, my friend. Let me see it. Oh, I skipped right over the verse. See, this is where I feel stupid. I just went through all of that and I skipped right over it. Now I found it. Ridiculous. Here it is. All right. I write this to you once that if anybody sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ. So if you sin, you've already got your advocate between you and Jesus. That was the one I was looking for the whole time. Jesus is advocating for us on behalf of us if we sin after being with Jesus, so that if we sin, say the last thing you said, you were in a bad mood, you had a horrible day, and you cussed out your friend on the phone right before you hit a car crash. You're not going to go to hell just because you had a bad moment right before you died. That's like a belief that's insane. So that was the verse I was looking for. If you sin, by the way, if connotates that you don't have to sin, by the way. If anybody does sin, we have an advocate. So that's the verse I was looking for. Confesses between you and God. Yep. You don't have to confess to a priest. That's a tradition, not a biblical command. Love Bible study. Good stuff. Yeah, Jesus is your lawyer. 100%. Okay, listen. I love you guys. I got to go. This took a long time. I have fun, though. I got to say, I love doing the Jesus breakdowns. It's really fun for me. It's a passion of mine. I mean, pastor for 10 years, studied Bible for 30. I love this stuff. Anyways, but bless you guys. You're the best. Have a great, blessed day. Let's pray before we get out of here. Please hit that like, that subscribe. Think about joining if you want to. Get into the description. Click that link. You get a free month off and try out the membership. So you're the absolute best. Have I done a video on Bemacy? No, I don't know what that is. So, yeah, that whole Orthodox thing is crazy. Like, believing you need a priest to intervene for you, there's no biblical basis for that at all. We don't need a mediator anymore because Jesus is the mediator. That's what the Bible says. So anybody who tells you otherwise, whether it's Orthodox, Catholics, whatever, anybody who tells you otherwise that you need a mediator between you and God for your sins is totally lying to you. It's just not biblical. The mediator is Jesus. So, Rylu, you're completely wrong. Every authority Jesus gave to the apostles, he gave to me and you as well. That's biblical. Sorry. Paul, you should read the writings of Paul. It's all over the place, man. Man, these people who the religious people get really mad at this stuff. I don't understand where these doctrines come from. It's definitely not biblical. But anyways, you guys are awesome. Let's pray and get out of here. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless everybody watching, even the people I disagree with. Bless them. Let them have a blessed day. You love them too. And Lord, just bless President Trump. Give him discernment, wisdom, protection for everything he is facing. Bless his team so that they solve the impossible problems. And Lord, we pray, God, more will be revealed and broken more and more. Thank you. Our country is healing. Thank you, Lord, for all you're doing right now in this amazing place called the USA. And pray it spreads throughout the world. We pray for justice, peace, and prosperity to our country like never before, and that we can leave a better nation to our kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. I love you guys. Bless you. Have a blessed day. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. 12 o'clock.